15 years cold. The Rashaun Jones case. We're breaking down one of South Florida's most talked about cold cases, the 2006 murder of University of Miami football star Bryan Pata. Pata was a 22-year-old defensive lineman from Little Haiti, one of 9 kids, and a rising NFL prospect. On November 7, 2006, just hours after practice, he was shot execution style in the head outside of his apartment.
At what address? 9315, Southwest 77th Avenue.
What happened there?
Somebody got shot. The guy's on the ground. I don't know where he's bleeding from, but he's on the ground, man.
Okay, and if you just stay with me on the line, did you see what happened?
No, I did not see what happened. Nobody see what happened, man.
His wallet was full of cash and was still on his person. This looked personal. No robbery, no clear suspect. Then, ESPN's investigative reporting in 2020 helped blow the case back open. They dug through thousands of documents, sued for records access, and located witnesses. Less than a year later, in August of 2021, former teammate Rashaun Jones was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. Jones has always maintained his innocence.
And what is your position? What are you thinking?
Deep down in my heart, I know I'm innocent. So that means I got to go try to prove my innocence.
Well, that's up to you.
Jones's first trial earlier this year ended in a mistrial after the jury deadlocked. Reportedly, 5-1 for acquittal. Now, we're heading into a retrial in September, but the case has only gotten messier. We're talking about a circumstantial evidence case with some messy layers. A controversial jailhouse witness who's popped up as a witness in other cases before. Questions about disgraced former prosecutor Michael von Zamft and how he handled that informant. And now most recently, the lead detective is facing an internal affairs investigation over alleged biased comments on social media using burner accounts during the first trial. The state of Florida's theory is that all roads led to Jones. Motive, the timing, an eyewitness, phone records. But the defense says that after 15 years with no new evidence, this looks more like the state is just responding to pressure from the family, and that it's the product of tunnel vision. So in this series, we've got old footage, we've got trial testimony, the current motions fight over what the jury is allowed to hear, and the twists that are going to keep coming in as we approach the new trial, which we'll cover that too. We're going to lay it all out with a live stream format, with a live chat to interact and figure it out together. So here we go. Drop your thoughts in the chat or the comment section if you are on Replay Crew, and let's get into it. Hey guys, are you ready? Because I'm pretty excited for this. I have been looking at this case. I watched a little bit of this trial with Dylan over at the channel The Alternate Corner, and a few things right away were just red flags to me. First of all, it's a Florida case. Florida, I like to call it the Sunshine State. We have pretty good transparency laws here. It's really easy to access court documents for a lot of different cases that we've covered down here in Florida. And for this case, the judge didn't want to allow live streaming. So that was the first little bit that I was like, well, that's interesting. And started watching the trial. Long story short, the trial that just happened ended in a mistrial with reportedly a split between the jurors of 5-1. It was a 6-person jury, 5-1 in favor of acquittal. So 5 of the jurors wanted to acquit Rashaun Jones. That's another factor that made me go, But of course, I'm sure to nobody's surprise, the prosecution wants to retry the case. And there's a hearing coming up on this Monday, so the 18th. And before that hearing happened, I was just going to stream the hearing, and I'm like, no, there's so much more in this case that we need to unpack. So now we have a ChatCast. It is going to be an interactive deep dive with you guys, the chat. You guys will stay on the screen with me, unless I need to not block an exhibit or something. And we're going to do the research together. We are going to react together. We are going to take the case in together. We're going to see how and when our minds change or when we learn new information. And we're going to prepare for this possible retrial that's currently set for September. So the easiest way I think to start is we're going to get ourselves grounded in a comprehensive timeline. So there's quite a bit here. We're going to read through that, and then we're going to start looking at some pretrial coverage today. If we can get into the original trial, we might start opening statements from the original trial today as well. If not, we'll do that tomorrow for our second session. But I hope you guys like this idea. I'm really excited to do it this way. There is so much here, guys. Like, I can't even wait to get to it. So, good to see everybody. Make sure you say hey in the chat. Always good to see you guys. Factual Lie says, I saw bits of this. It's a lot, guys. There is a lot here. So, let's start from the top. This is linked in the description if you want to take a peek at it. I will try to update it whenever we have new stuff to add. And it will also have a ton of resources linked at the bottom if you want to dive even deeper than what we do on these sessions. So, the basics of the case. This revolves around the death of Bryan Pata. This happened in 2006 at the Colony Apartments in the greater Miami area. You know, we'll get nitty-gritty with some locations. There's a little map that we're going to look at. The case was cold for 15 years. 15-year cold case. ESPN actually is what helped revive this. They did some great investigative journalism. I was really shocked. The best articles I'm seeing are from ESPN, and I didn't really even know that they did that, but it's incredible work that they've done. They obtained and looked over 5,000 documents, and they got some pushback. The Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office was pushing back, trying to keep certain records confidential, and ESPN had to sue to get some of these records. They interviewed over 100 people, including some people that were never contacted by police. So ESPN is out here getting the work done. There's also a link in the description of this video to their first major publication on this story. It's incredible work, so make sure you check that out. Bryan Pata. He was 6'4". He was about 270, 280 pounds. He was a defensive lineman for the University of Miami Hurricanes, and he was a projected NFL draft pick. But he was shot and killed outside of his apartment on November 6, 2006. His teammate, Rashaun Jones, ends up being arrested in 2021, and he's charged with second-degree murder. And again, as we will continue to hear, his first trial ended in a mistrial in March of this year. And currently, although maybe this is up to change, I don't know, retrial is scheduled for September 14th of 2026. So early background and precursor here, a lot of this early background is stuff that this information is coming from documents in the case. So right before Rashaun Jones is going to trial, the 2 years leading up to his trial, the state files notice of intent to rely on prior acts evidence, prior character evidence. So this information, we'll have to find out. I'm not sure it was contemporaneously reported when it was happening. This information, from what I gather, is stuff that at some point, different witnesses say that, oh yeah, back years ago at some point, maybe like 9 months before this happened, I think I witnessed a fight. This is all coming from recent documents. So, August 2004, there's apparently a dorm room altercation. It's described as a physical altercation that occurs in a teammate who, we don't hear his name too much outside of this, but Eric Moncur. So, they're in his dorm room. Rashaun Jones is confronted by Bryan Pata and others, and this fight apparently escalates. Pata allegedly punches Jones, throws him on a bed, and headbutts him, quote, 5 times. That was the detail that stood out. And Jones allegedly says after all this happens, better clip up, as he leaves. And the interpretation of that and the state's theory of what that line was meant to mean is, you better arm yourself because I'm going to come back. That's going to be how the state latches on to this information. Another purported story that the state filed notice that they wanted to rely on. Later on, after this August 2004 incident, there's witnesses that the state says, hey, look, people said they saw Rashaun Jones with a firearm. And for a while, it was just firearm generally. Closer to the approach of trial, suddenly it gets more specific, and somebody ends up saying they saw him with a small revolver type gun. We're going to find out that no casings were found at the scene. So, years removed from this, we get some information, and someone testifies at trial that Jones bragged about owning a .38 caliber firearm, a revolver. So, a little bit of evolution of information over the course of these 15 years since this happened, getting very specific over time, which to me is a red flag, but you guys can let me know what you think in the chat. In 2005, there's a locker room confrontation. So reportedly, Jones allegedly made advances towards a teammate's girlfriend, and he gets confronted in the locker room over this, and Jones reportedly replies, "Oh, I just do that with everybody." But then he clenches up his fist and says, "You just gotta do what you gotta do." And that clenched fist is supposed to be threatening. And the state will ultimately latch onto this information because one of the motives they're going to argue is that Jones had some type of jealousy towards Bryan Pata because of a woman named Jada that Pata was dating at the time. So by the state having a witness that can attest to a locker room confrontation over another girlfriend could show repeat behavior, a pattern of behavior. In spring of 2006, there's reportedly threatening calls. Pata receives what he interprets as threatening police calls from relatives of Jada Brody. This was his then girlfriend. It's not known. There hasn't really been anyone to contest this and say that, no, those calls were actually from Rashaun Jones. But this is critical information that the defense is trying to find more information about. But they're at a disadvantage because this is 15 years later, and Rashaun Jones isn't arrested, charged until 2021. So the first time he's on notice to try to work backwards and investigate these things is after 15 years has passed. And they have to rely on the state and their investigation to even find a starting point. So, but there is word out there, and the defense does try to do their best to find out more about what goes on here with these supposed threatening phone calls from relatives of Bryan Pata, the victim's girlfriend at the time. And apparently, Bryan Pata, when he was getting these calls, grabbed his guns and stays at his sister's house that night, make sure she's okay. And then just generally, the state said that they had some information that there were strained relationships between Jones and Pata. Jones ends up getting some suspensions from the team. He's drug tested. He fails a drug test in 2006. But Pata's rising as a star at the time. You know, he's projected as an NFL draft pick. He's doing well. He's not dealing with suspensions. And the state will allege that there's a growing resentment because of this. Jones is jealous that while he keeps getting caught up, Pata is going up. So not just the career, not just the jealousy potentially over Jada Brody, but the combination of both. So then we've got the day of the murder. Here is an outline of what happened on November 7th, 2006. And everything that we're going over in this document, we're going to hear about in greater detail. But I think it helps if we have a little bit of foundation. As we go through the rest of it, the details can stick better if we've got the bricks in place. So early in the morning, Bryan Pata is meeting. He's doing his workout. He's doing his routine. And he and his teammate, Eric Moncur, who we heard about a little bit before, they register for the spring semester classes. Jada Brody joins them for lunch, and Eric Moncur encourages Pata, like, hey man, your stock is rising. So it's valuable to the state to have this information because it goes to the idea that at the time, the current climate, the current dynamic is Pata was on the up and up. Someone could be jealous of him. Just before they were leaving their daily practice, Pata is overheard by tight end Chris Zellner, a different teammate, on a heated phone call. And there was a quote, "If you want, man, come see me then." So Pata then offers several underclassmen a ride home from the athletic center where they're training, drops them off, says, all right, take it easy, we'll see you tomorrow. And then Pata's last phone call conversation is with his brother. He is discussing paint colors for a Chevy that they're trying to restore together. Bryan Pata liked cars. He had some videos with him with some nice cars that ESPN included in their investigation. And then the call suddenly drops. The brother, Fednol's like, that's weird. Like, he wouldn't do that. So then, and you guys heard the 911 call a bit in the intro. This is when everything happened. So Pata ends up arriving at home. He parks his car near a dumpster and some bushes around the apartment complex. And then police think that the shooter had been waiting because there's this brush coverage, there's these shrubs, that he's hiding there behind this dumpster area or in these bushes, maybe like Marissa Viverito from the YSL trial. And that since he arrived, it was less than 2 minutes before he would be shot and killed. So around 7:07 p.m., Jada Brody, who was inside the apartment at the time, tells police that she thought she heard an argument downstairs. She discovers Pata on the walkway near his car, unresponsive and bleeding. Roommate Dwayne, who's the voice you heard in the trailer of this podcast, ChatCast, ends up arriving. He thinks it's a prank, is trying to get him up, and then he realizes there's no movement. This is real. So he calls 911, and Pata is pronounced dead at 7:07 p.m. So, yeah. Interesting timeline there if he supposedly had this odd-sounding, harsh, threatening call earlier in the day. Now the physical evidence. Gunshot wound, firearm was used. So Pata was shot approximately 3 inches above and half an inch from his left ear with a medium caliber lead bullet. They believe it was precise. They believe it was targeted and somebody was close up near him. Nothing was stolen from him. So on his person, Pata still had his wallet. There were car keys with his personal affects on them. Nothing like that was taken. So right away, law enforcement's like, well, this probably isn't a robbery. It's probably a dispute, personal cause homicide, somebody that knew him. And then the shooter's position. So again, police theorize that the shooter waited near the bushes or parked behind the dumpster in the apartment complex based on the layout of the colony apartments, and that only 2 minutes passed before the shooting happened. But what this means for this trial, once we make it to the trial for Rashaun Jones, is there's no physical evidence. So no murder weapon. There's no DNA evidence. No direct forensic evidence. Not just really for Rashaun Jones, but really linking any suspect to the scene. So we've got an entirely circumstantial case. The early stages of the investigation. This is going to span from 2006, the time of the incident, up until the end of 2019 when ESPN jumps in. So police generated a large volume of leads. We're going to learn that they had psychics calling in with tips and all of that. They do get a large volume of leads. It was a high-profile case when it happened. And the original investigative report was 200 pages long. Many leads were eventually abandoned or not fully pursued. We're going to hear about some of those. And cold case experts later criticized the law enforcement, the investigators, for the lack of follow-up on certain leads and witnesses. So, possible things that they were looking at in the initial stages. Pata liked to go out. He liked to go to the clubs. And at one point, a large fight at a downtown club broke out. There was allegedly gang members involved. There's people being hit with pipes and stuff's being thrown. And as it ended, some tall, skinny man wearing a large chain yelled, "We're going to get you." And a witness that we're going to hear from, Willie Williams, he says that he received calls warning that a hit had been placed on him and Bryan Pata. So this is all in that 2006 time frame preceding Bryan Pata's killing. There's somebody he gets a call from saying that there's been a hit placed on somebody. And Pata, according to Williams, said, "Don't worry, Williams, don't worry, Willie. I took care of it, we're good." Which, if you take that statement at face value, gives credibility to the threat of a hit. Then there was an issue where, maybe this is about rims and a dispute over a vehicle. So Pata bought expensive custom rims. A man confronts him at a flea market saying, "Those are my rims." And because Pata used to sell a bunch of customized vehicles, including selling one in the days before he died, that had major mechanical problems, police were thinking maybe it was somebody that was trying to get some get back because they believed, whether true or not, that their rims had been stolen by Pata or that Pata had sold them a goose egg of a vehicle. Next up, their theory that they tried to look at, what about ex-girlfriends, jealousy? So Pata's ex-girlfriend apparently used to show up at the apartment, and once she even came with a knife. Apparently, Pata laughed it off, and police ultimately abandoned this theory, but there were reported incidents that an ex-girlfriend, even though he moved on, was showing up and threatening him, wanting to get back with him, who knows what. And then there's Jerome Brody, who I personally think might be the most interesting theory of these four. This is Jada's twin. So Bryan Pata was dating Jada Brody at this time, and Jada had a twin brother, or has, he's still alive, they're both still alive, has a twin brother named Jerome. police actively investigate Jerome because he's got a criminal record, a lengthy criminal record. He's in close proximity. He's the brother of the girlfriend of the victim. And they know that he's had access to guns. He's committed violent crimes before. So it's easy to put a target on him. You want to look at someone like that. So Detective Miguel Dominguez travels to Boston. He interviews Jerome Brody while he's in jail. Says that Jerome was aggressive, refused to cooperate, didn't want to answer questions. And says, "Why are detectives harassing my family?" Very defensive about anyone asking questions of other family members of his. And then Jerome and Jada's father describe Jerome as violent. So Mr. Brody Sr. is like, yeah, he's got a violent history. So that might be why Jerome is upset that detectives are talking to his family members. Police later confirmed that Jerome was not in Miami at the time, though. So he's taken off the table. And then what do we get? We don't have leads. Like these theories, they sound good, but nothing's really, we can't tie anybody with any physical evidence. You know, these theories, they're either being eliminated or they're not carrying enough weight. They're not something that we can work with. So then what happens? That's when we start getting jailhouse informants in the mix. So first up, we have Bernard Brinson, first inmate, jailhouse snitch. Inmate Bernard Brinson claimed his cellmate. Now get this is Emmanuel Jones, but no relation to Rashaun Jones. Bernard Brinson says, "Look, I think I have information on who killed Bryan Pata. My cellmate," we'll call him Emmanuel. We'll try not to call him Jones. Emmanuel, who has no relationship to Rashaun Jones here. He gets the finger pointed at him. His cellmate says, look, he committed to carrying out a paid hit. So it's a recurring theme now, this idea that there was a paid hit on Pata. Brinson takes a lie detector test and he passes. But then records later show that there's some type of contradiction between Emmanuel Jones' custody status and Emmanuel. They think that he can't be the one that did it because his whereabouts seem to be at different locations on the day of the murder. Next, there's an ICE tip. Another confessor. This person confessed on their own, right? This isn't like, oh, I overheard somebody. This confessor purportedly confesses that they themselves killed Bryan Pata. And this information came from an ICE agent who contacted police about an informant who overheard someone with Haitian ties confessing to the murder. The supposed confessor reportedly died in the 2010 Haiti earthquake, so they're unavailable. They're unavailable. Police were denied direct access to the informant, and this tip would later resurface as a major pretrial issue in 2026. The day of opening statements, this becomes an issue. The defense wants to know more about it, and they're like, what the heck? Then other leads. So as this continued to go unsolved, more leads were coming in here and there, and a psychic from Arkansas started bringing in tips. And ESPN had like drawings that the psychic submitted of the crime scene and all this other stuff. There were also various associates and business contacts of Pata that were bringing in tips. And then Pata's family repeatedly pressured police, believing Rashaun Jones was responsible due to 2 prior incidents between the two. So when this is becoming cold, and it's not going anywhere, the family is in contact with law enforcement, pointing to Rashaun Jones. So, oh yeah. You know, I need to make these better colors because I forget them almost because they're kind of muted. I should make them like a yellow. But cold case experts will note that there was a significant red flag with the investigation. Police never re-interviewed at least 2 of the players who rode home that night with Pata. So, you know, you could go back, you could see if they remember anything differently. You can see if their story changes. These are individuals who were with him in his final moments. But they don't do that, and people have criticized that that's a significant gap. Now, ESPN's Death at the U, I believe it's 7 episodes. I put together a playlist that put all 7 of their episodes together. And then they also did a written report, which is already linked in the description. If you want to get the playlist link, click the resource doc. It'll open this document, and at the bottom, you'll get to all of these resources down here. You can find the playlist where you can listen to all 7 episodes in order. And I'll go back and I'll add it to the description so it's easier, but I'll do it after we do this. But they did a ton of investigation. Where were we? Oh, here we go. All right, so ESPN was doing like a lot of heavy lifting. We're already in like approaching 2020. They get these 5,000 documents, more than 5,000. They get photos. They get stuff from the Miami Police Department. They get the 911 audio. They get other audio recordings. They get video information. And they start interviewing people. They probably interview more people than the investigators seem to, since we just learned about this gap. But they interview more than 100 people, including people that had never been interviewed before. So then we've got Cold Case Foundation findings. So these 2 experts, Greg Cooper, Dean Jackson from the Cold Case Foundation, start reviewing these materials that ESPN obtains. Here's some of their conclusions, and we'll read more about them as we go through these series, these sessions. They believe, kind of like law enforcement, that this was a personal cause homicide. They think that the key to the case is the relationship between the victim and the offender. They conclude that the case was solvable, could have been solved, and they criticize the lack of re-interviews with the teammates, especially those that were riding in the vehicle. And again, we'll scroll through this real quick, but I want to show you the detail. You got to click this a few times to open the article. There we go. Like, look at this. This is the first, I guess, expose. I don't know the right word. That ESPN put together that compiled all of this different research that they were doing. It's incredible stuff. So just by the length of this article and the amount of resources that are included within it, I think that could show why there was renewed interest on this case and new leads started coming in because of this coverage around 2020. Just a ton of attention coming from ESPN. So shout out to all of them, and let's get their names, because this was prepared by Paula Levine and Elizabeth Merrill. So just awesome, awesome stuff. And then because of all of that, case is reopened and we arrest Rashaun Jones. So in 2020, Detective Juan Segovia, who was not originally on this case, we're going to continue to hear about him. He's burner account guy. He's assigned as the lead investigator and the cold case is formally reopened. On August 19th of 2021, Rashaun Jones is arrested in Ocala, Florida. He's charged with second-degree murder in the death of Bryan Pata. And again, this is 15 years later. And then Jones is held on $850,000 bond, and he pleads not guilty. He maintains his innocence throughout the pretrial period. There's going to be a jailhouse snitch that says he confessed. But aside from that, like, if you believe that, then you could say, well, at one point he didn't maintain his innocence. But if you are skeptical about the jailhouse snitch, all the other points in time, Rashaun Jones has maintained his innocence. And we're actually going to listen to a plea hearing where the judge seems to really lay it on thick that he should take a plea. And I didn't really love that, but I'll see what you guys think. So he's in custody. Then we've got leading up to trial, right? He's been in custody almost 5 years now. His trial happened earlier this year, and he was arrested back in 2021. So a lot happened before trial. A name we're going to hear a lot about is George Jones. Another Jones, I know. His middle name is French, George French Jones. So maybe we can just call him French or George. We're going to hear a lot about him. This name is not going to go away. George French Jones claims that Rashaun Jones, no relation, we've got all these Joneses, confessed to him in November of 2021. So this guy is off the radar for 15 years, right? If he, we're going to assume he did it. He's off the radar for 15 years. He gets locked up. He's trying to get on bond, but he stays in custody. Between August and November, after not saying anything to anyone for 15 years, He's just yapping away to George French Jones. Put a 1 in the chat if you doubt this. Let me know what you think. Put a 2 if you believe it. Put a 1 in the chat if you doubt it. Put a 2 in the chat if you believe it. Oh, man. I'm going to put a 1 in the chat. I'm going to put a 1 to doubt. It's a lot. So let's remember that name, George French Jones. He's going to be removed from the witness list. He becomes an important witness for the prosecution, but then he has to be removed from the witness list in July 2025, kind of on the eve of trial, because he sends a threatening email to the prosecution. So they remove him, and then they try to re-add him, and the defense has to file a bunch of motions like, what are we doing with this back and forth? And they have to ask for more discovery information about this guy. It's a whole mess. He is a huge part. He's a whole side story on his own. So George French Jones, pin that one. More on this Haitian hitman and ICE tip. And again, we saw it come in because we discussed possible hits. But here it's related to the mess before trial. Right? So back to this major bombshell right before opening statements. The defense is like, look, we got this information. We heard that ICE tried to contact police, and now we're just finding out about this. That a confidential informant stated a person had hired a Haitian hitman who confessed to the murder. And the reason this is particularly interesting is because there's been other bits and pieces of information that have suggested a hit. The Mr. Willie, who said, look, we got in this brawl at a club. There was like gangs fighting at the club, and this guy, I get a call from an unknown number, and this guy's like, oh, I have a hit on you and Mr. Pata. And then Pata tells me I handled it, which to me, there's like a layer of credibility there if there's conversations back and forth about it. And then we have this ICE tip about some Haitian hitman who self-confessed. That seems pretty important, especially since it's on the defense side, right? The defense has the right to put on a fight. They have the right to present information. They have a right to discovery information. And if this is law enforcement, if law enforcement was put on notice, if ICE tells police, and police had this information, it's something that the defense should have at least been informed about. So they freak out before trial. They're like, this is a bombshell. We want to be able to look into this more. This is directly related to something that another witness says. But Judge CRISTINA Miranda, who the defense has moved to disqualify twice, rules it as hearsay and denies the admission. And since trial's about to start, they've got to rush into opening statements. No more delays. The defense isn't allowed to present this ICE tip or the alleged confession to the jury. So jury doesn't hear this, and they still... Their breaking point, their tipping is 5-1 for acquittal still. So yeah, we're gonna read more about these issues about the rejection of the ICE/Haitian hitman evidence because it is really critical. The defense does put up a major fight for it, and it continues to be part of some of their motions since the mistrial. Now we're at the trial. And I'm hoping we can get to at least opening statements today because I really think that's going to ground us in the who's who at this first trial. So trial began on February 19th, earlier this year. The state's case was, it's fully circumstantial, but we have motive, they say. We have jealousy over Pata's rising football career. He's going up, and there was resentment because Mr. Jones... he's getting suspended. He can't play. He can't come to practice. And Pata has these nice cars. He's got this beautiful girlfriend, Jada. His relationship is great. And Jones just can't handle it. Paul Connor, another name we'll hear a bit about. Paul Connor is an elderly man. He was the eyewitness identification that the state had. But that eyewitness identification, he doesn't come testify in person. And we're going to see the sketch. We're going to see the sketch that they show during trial that came from Paul Connor's description And we'll see what you guys think. We'll see if you think it looks like Rashaun Jones. And then we also have phone records placing Jones near the scene, although we have an expert from the defense who does a map, and Jones' device is like a couple blocks away at a business, and the apartment complex is like over here somewhere. So not really sure how to square that one, but we'll see what you guys think. And then what the state really leans on, and what several witnesses in the early days apparently thought was odd, is that Rashaun Jones does miss a team meeting right after the murder. He doesn't come to the team meeting. Let's see. And then the mistrial. We already heard, I told you guys, 5-1 in favor of acquittal according to one juror who spoke with ESPN. That's what they told ESPN. They couldn't reach a unanimous verdict. One was hanging out for a guilty. And then because they couldn't come to an agreement on March 2nd, Judge Miranda declares a mistrial, and Jones remains in custody. We've got jurors here. They say that the prosecution failed to meet its burden, and apparently this juror that spoke to ESPN was critical of the original police work. And then after this mistrial, bond is reduced to $500,000. But Jones ends up rejecting plea offers, including one that reportedly would have given him 15 years plus credit for the time he served, which is almost 5 years at this point. So it would have been about a balance of 10. And then let's see. Yep, the state announces that they're going to retry. And a summary of the hot mess. And like, this summary is not doing the hot mess justice, but it'll ground you once we get there. At least you'll have like the bullet points as we get to this information. So since we have this retrial on the horizon, there has been so much mess that has happened. Independently from this case specifically, the Florida Bar files a complaint against former prosecutor Michael Van Zamft. We've talked about him in relation to motions filed by the attorney for the Clenny parents. The judge presiding over the Courtney Clenny case currently, if you're following that case, wrote a scathing opinion disqualifying Michael Van Zamft and his co-chair on the prosecution of Corey Smith. It's a 2004 case, all the way back. And since that case, a ton of misconduct by Van Zamft has been revealed. It seems like his MO is finding people that he can have an in with that are in custody that are looking for leniency and favors, and he just gets them to be the jailbird snitches. And he's got like a civil lawsuit by a woman named, I forget her first name, Patricia Jeter. Like, disgraced might not be enough of a word to characterize former prosecutor Michael Van Zamft. But yeah, so he gets his Florida bar complaint against him. And he used to be, in the like early 2020 stages, prosecutor looking at this case. So now the defense for Rashaun Jones is like, all right, I know we just had this mistrial, but now we've got a whole bunch of motions challenging the integrity of this prosecution because Michael Van Zamft was involved. And they cite to the issues raised in the Florida bar complaint. And that is going to probably be a session on its own. And heading into April of this year, so very recent, we have the Detective Segovia Instagram allegations. And Rashaun Jones' attorney, Sarah Alvarez, she put together a motion, like a supplement, with a bunch of exhibits. She includes a bunch of screenshots from his Instagram accounts with this purported burner, showing the types of comments he was making about this case while the trial was happening. So he's the lead detective that took over and reopened this case before Rashaun Jones was arrested. He testifies at trial to the jury. So maybe that one juror who was hanging on, like, really thought Segovia was convincing. Meanwhile, Juan Segovia is, if this is his account, this balance of justice account that they're saying is his, while the trial's happening, he's on Instagram, he's on social media, commenting about the credibility of other witnesses in the trial and commenting about the guilt of the defendant, while also commenting on like random law enforcement announcements. So they think this balance of _justice, a great username for this type of circumstance, is Juan Segovia posting these biased comments, including posts reading guilty in all caps and guilty as sin. An internal affairs investigation is ongoing. And the defense is filing motions to be able to speak about this internal affairs investigation, and the state is opposing it. So May 7th, there was going to be a retrial sooner than September. It was supposed to start on Monday. And we're going to watch a bit of this hearing. This hearing kind of annoyed me, not going to lie. And it's why I wanted to do this deep dive. There's this hearing that's supposed to see if everyone's ready to go for May 18th, when the retrial was supposed to start. Well, the defense has to file a bunch of motions because of all of this mess happening. And so there was a cutoff deadline in the middle of April to file motions, but this stuff is new and emerging. And the judge starts off this hearing pissed off at the defense. Well, there was a deadline. I told you there was a deadline. And now we have to move the trial. Now no one's going to be ready. But the reason they're filing all these motions at the end of April is because they're just learning of this information as it happens. So I was pretty displeased personally with this hearing. We're going to watch, there's I think it's like a 30-minute clip of this hearing. So we're going to get to that once we get past the trial rewatch and get into this middle mistrial, retrial, May hot mess. And as of right now, because of what happened at that hearing, the trial is tentatively rescheduled for September 14th. The motions hearing is still on for the date that was calendared for the trial start. And I'm hoping there's a feed. If there's a feed, we're going to watch that as like a session 2 or 3 of this. And if it's something that they only publish after the fact, which might be the case, we'll watch whatever we can. So they're going to go over those motions that made the judge mad because they were filed past the deadline. So let's see. Yep, and these motions remain pending. And where we are now. So Rashaun Jones is in custody and his bond has been reduced. It's $500,000. He's maintaining his innocence. He's rejected all plea offers. Even though one would have just been another 10 years to serve with the credit for the time that he's already served. We've got the hearing on Monday. Current trial for September 14th. Still Judge CRISTINA Miranda, even though there's been 2 motions to disqualify. And then this internal affairs investigation is ongoing. And maybe that'll change in the next upcoming months before the second trial starts. Who knows? But wouldn't it be interesting if we have internal affairs results in before trial? And then again, tons of resources here. Like, I haven't looked at everything fully. Like, I've watched 1 episode of Murder at the U, but it was great so far. But I've read a lot of the court documents. I've paused reading some of the court documents because I said I'm going to wait to read it while we're live and see how you guys react. But there are a ton of the ESPN resources, Court TV, communitynewspapers.com had some information. And also, Marie Pereira, you guys might recognize her from other cases if you watch Florida cases, and Jason Kaufman. They have done a few collaborations on Island TV. It's a YouTube channel talking about this case. And I got to watch one of their episodes. It was great. So I also recommend going over there. I've got the playlist here of if you just want to watch like old news coverage leading up to the trial and the raw footage of the trial on your own time. I put everything in a playlist here for you guys to do. And then Dylan. I was like, where's Dylan? Dylan with the alternate corner, if you want to go and watch his trial coverage, which I recommend. His chat is awesome. And it really cued me into the red flags on this case. His link is here as well. And that takes us through our foundational timeline. So with that being said, we can get into some video content, you guys. Starting with the playlist I just pointed out. And quick break here. Hey, that guy Nick says, annoying judge. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what you guys think as we watch some of the trial, as we watch some of the hearing footage. We'll see what you guys think of Judge CRISTINA Miranda. We've got, hey Fatima. Hey Tarta Time. Glad you caught up. Hey Posh. Hey Allie. Sharon and FFS have been hanging out the whole time. Island Beauty, thank you for the super. Says, I was gifted a free membership recently, but didn't see by whom. Thank you to the generous gift giver. I love when people give gifts. I hope you get to use some of the channel emojis. There's some fun ones in there. We might need one for this trial. So if something springs out that would be a good emoji for this trial as we go, suggest it. We can design when we can get a new emoji for this one. Thank you so much for the super. And I think you guys did a lot of ones in the chat earlier. Can I still see those? Yeah, so we had some questions about the jailhouse witness with, of course, a Mavka with a 2. I can always count on you, Mavka. Lots of ones to doubt that jailhouse information. All right, guys, so we're going to go back to, let's get the exact date here. This is going to be March 21st of 2017. And, you know, I think this is going to be kind of sad to watch. It's the family. Years have gone by, and they don't have closure. Right, so we're going to start off with the throwback on the video coverage to 2017, where this family still does not have an answer. They do not have closure for the death of their son, the death of their brother.
It's been more than a decade since University of Miami football player Bryan Pata was shot and killed in the parking lot of his apartment complex in Kendall. This morning, his family made an emotional plea for help to try and find the person responsible. CBS 4's Gary Nelson is live at Miami-Dade Police Headquarters in Doral with more on this case. Gary?
All the years, the passage of time since Bryan Pata's murder have not helped to ease the heartache of his family. A mother and brother grieve for their murdered loved one. The lead detective on the 10-and-a-half-year-old case tries to comfort them. It was November 7th, 2006, that Bryan Pata, a UM senior defensive lineman, NFL bound, was shot multiple times, assassinated in the parking lot of his Kendall complex, returning home from football practice. Time has not eased his mother's heartache.
This is not easy for me, because 10 years and a half, we never we don't hear nothing. Nothing, no phone call.
Investigators know only that Bryan Pata's murder was personal. Nothing was taken. Detective Mike Dominguez was and is still the lead detective on the case.
Maybe now, 10 years later, somebody who might have information might be an adult now with a family, and, you know, maybe they'll do the right thing.
A family remembered the quality of the young man they lost.
Charismatic, funny, energetic. He was a big piece to our 9 sibling family.
Police and his family are convinced someone close to Bryan Pata has the answer to who killed him.
People know what happened to Bryan, but they're just not saying anything. And, you know, I think that we have to look more into Bryan's circle of trust, those that were around Bryan.
A mother prays.
How do you feel about that after we just read that they don't even do a second interview with the people that were near the victim in his final moments? And that doesn't mean that they should be looked at as potential perpetrators or whatever. But people could remember something that was off. Maybe they'll think of like, oh, there was actually a phone call, or someone was trying to call him and he quickly shoved the phone away. Like, even just little details like that. If you interview someone a second time, you might get that information. And especially if you do that closer in time to when it happens, you could get some information that could have prevented this 2017, this family saying, like, we're not hearing anything from anybody.
Every night that someone does the right thing.
It hurt me.
The hurt, she says, goes on and on.
And again, so that was 2017. As we heard, it was still Mr. Dominguez was the lead detective at the time. And next up, I think this one jumps like a few years forward.
We're on top.
So, all right, this was August 19th, 2021, about the arrest.
Of a developing story here at 6 o'clock, police make an arrest in the 2006 murder of star University of Miami football player Bryan Pata. Good evening, I'm Elliot Rodriguez.
And I'm Lauren Pastrana. It took nearly 15 years, but tonight one of Pata's teammates, Rashaun Jones, is charged in the cold case. CBS 4's Austin Carter is live at Miami-Dade Police Headquarters in Doral with those new details. Austin.
And Lauren, after 15 long years of waiting, police have arrested a former teammate who is now waiting to be transported back here to Miami-Dade County from Marion County. And what we do know from the state attorney's office is that this suspect had previous issues with the victim, and we don't know yet why it took so long now and why investigators have made this arrest just over a decade later.
Taken 15 years ago, this picture shows teammates of murdered Bryan Pata kneeling next to a banner with his picture on it at the first Miami Hurricanes home game after his death. But disturbingly enough, one of his teammates, seen here, number 38, is the man who police say killed Pata. Miami-Dade police arresting 35-year-old Rashaun Jones with the help of U.S. Marshals.
I can only hope that this brings a Pata family a little bit of closure, a little bit of satisfaction, knowing that at least the person who took Bryan's life is now in custody.
Pata was gunned down in 2006 in the parking lot of his Kendall apartment while returning home from practice. He was 22 years old.
His whole world revolved around football and his family. So it's not like he had a lot of enemies. He wasn't involved in any criminal element. He's a young man who was looking forward to a future in the NFL.
And that future ripped away.
Now, with this early press coverage, is there anything that stands out to you? That can let you know my thoughts. Out the gate, we have the reporter saying, well, in the Miami-Dade, we don't know why the arrest happened so late, but the Miami-Dade prosecutors are already telling us that the person they arrested, Rashaun Jones, had all of this prior history of conflict with the victim. We don't know why it took them so long. So they're getting information's being reported that supports and bolsters the arrest and the pending prosecution. But when it comes to this other information, everybody loved him. Nobody had an issue with him. Even though we already had investigations into someone saying that he stole rims or that sold him a bad car, or there was this guy that got a phone call saying like, hey, I have a hit on you and Pata. That's omitted from this. That's omitted from this entirely. So immediately the media coverage is signs point to this guy that they're finally arresting, and there were no other signs until now. And from the little bit that we just went over, that's not true. And this is coming out of, at this point, this is Kathy Fernandez-Rundle. She was already in office, I believe, at this time. Kathy Fernandez-Rundle's office has been criticized for, these big, dramatic press releases and releasing information to the media when arrests are first made. And then the state attorney's office at the same time will ask for gag orders against defendants. It seems to be a recurring theme with several cases in Miami-Dade County. So a little bit of that's already going on here. So, and I can imagine, it's very easy to think if someone isn't arrested for 15 years and then they're finally arrested, there must be some major gotcha. They find DNA, they find the hidden weapon, they find a confession, he's on recording somewhere saying he did it. Who knows? You just it's easy to make that assumption. You want to believe that if they're going to arrest somebody, they've got all the T's crossed and the I's dotted.
By one of his own teammates, according to police. The suspect was a former defensive back for UM. Over the years, police and devastated family members, including Pata's own mother, pleaded for answers.
This is not easy for me because 10 years and a half, we never we don't hear nothing. Nothing, no phone call.
And police now credit the community with help in this arrest.
Even if we get 1,000 tips, but only one of them was the one that actually put the pieces together, that's what it took, and that's exactly what happened in this case.
Okay, and today we also learned that Jones told police shortly after Pata's death that he was nowhere near anything that happened or knew anything about what happened. He told investigators that he was at home at the time. However, police were able to figure out that his cell phone actually showed up at a nearby tower, his cell phone registering up there just 2 miles away from the crime scene. Now, coming up on CBS 4 News at 7, you'll actually hear from the state attorney discussing this arrest. We're live in Doral. I'm Austin Carter, CBS.
And I didn't find that clip, but I will try. I will look to find it a little bit more thoroughly. But it looked like the type of thing that if you're watching live, it pops up on the whatever they're running on their channel. I didn't see that uploaded to YouTube, but I'll keep looking for that. Next up, quick Bond clip. This is how everybody seems to come into custody in Florida when they're charged of something like second-degree murder or the like.
Now at noon, the man accused of killing former U.S.
And the reason I say that is this is a high-profile case, and this is being reported in the media, so you're already picturing the defendant in attire that makes them look criminal and dangerous.
Football player Bryan Pata will remain behind bars with no bond. Rashaun Jones faced a judge this morning in Miami. He was booked into TGK yesterday. Police arrested Jones last week in Marion County. Jones was a teammate of Pata's and had long been considered a suspect in his murder, which happened outside Pata's Kendall apartment back in 2006.
Had long been considered a suspect.
Well, a hearing continuing today for...
Oh, okay, this one auto-played. All right, so now this is going to be March 1st of 2022. So we're now, what, like 6 months after the arrest?
For a former University of Miami football player
7,
accused of killing his
6.5.
teammate Bryan Pata. Local 10's Leanne Woodhong live in Miami to tell us what happened in court today. Leanne.
So again, he's having this hearing to try to get out of jail awaiting trial. He's accused of second-degree murder, which is a non-bondable offense. This hearing could potentially change that if the judge decides to. Today, the judge heard mainly from two detectives, one with their testimony wrapping up in the morning, someone we heard from yesterday. Today, though, the rest of it was from another detective on the case. He spoke a little bit about what he has discovered, including the weapon that was used to commit the crime. Rashaun Jones back in court again Tuesday for the continuation of his Arthur hearing, where a judge determines whether the alleged murderer can be released from jail to await trial. Jones is accused of shooting and killing Bryan Pata, his teammate on the University of Miami football team, outside his Kendall apartment complex back in 2006. Police suspected Jones for years and arrested him back in August. Up for questioning today was another Miami-Dade police detective investigating Pata's murder.
Show again where the entrance was and where the path. It was.
Hey, does he look familiar? Does this guy look familiar?
Show again where the entrance was and where the path. It was straight towards the back of the head, towards the front. Almost execution style from the back? That's correct. What was the caliber from the firearms?
.38 caliber. We begin to learn that the defendant had on numerous occasions made mention that he owned a .38 caliber, had made threats to people about shooting them, and even more importantly, had actually pointed a gun consistent with that firearm at somebody's head and threatened their lives on campus while at the University of Miami.
All right, so in case you didn't guess the familiar face, we will continue to hear about him, but that was Mr. Van Zamft. Mr. Van Zamft making an appearance there at the Arthur hearing.
A hearing continuing today.
I think this is the same thing. Maybe there's something different in this clip. Let's see.
For a former University of Miami football player.
Jail on bond before his trial. Today, the state and defense wrapped up their cases to the judge. Prosecutors say Jones was motivated by a combination of jealousy and prior bad blood with Pata, while the defense questioned the reliability of a witness's testimony and also questioned the length of time it took to make an arrest.
Everything everything is turning up well for Bryan, and everything is going wrong for him. And that's what's too much for the defendant. This man who is so frustrated by his suspension takes out his anger on the man who he hates the most.
What took 15 years? Why did they have to wait 15 years then? Connor's testimony and his ID was slam dunk. Why do we wait 15 years? We'll visit him again.
So a little bit of the vibe in the courtroom. And then we've got some pretrial testimony, and I only found clips available, so we're just going to go in the order. And this was August 18th of 2025. And it's great quality.
Do you more from the testimony you're about to give it?
Thank you.
So this is the brother.
Can you please introduce yourself to the court? Tell us your name.
Edwin Pata.
And how are you related to Bryan Pata?
Bryan's my brother.
Was Bryan younger or older than you?
Yep.
How much younger?
About 2 years.
Did you play football?
Yes.
And where did you play football? Or did you play football in high school first?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you on the same team as Bryan back in high school?
Yes.
Did you ultimately play football in college?
Yes.
And what team did you play for?
FIU in Forest.
And during the time Bryan was in college, so looking first to the 2004 season through the 2006 season, were you in local in Miami at FIU or were you in Tallahassee?
2004, I was in Tallahassee.
And through 2006?
Yes, ma'am.
You were in Tallahassee during that time period?
Yes, ma'am.
Once Bryan started playing football for the University of Miami, how often would you talk?
Probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Did Bryan ever mention a teammate by the name of Rashaun Jones?
Yes.
Do you remember when you first heard about him?
I think it was his first year, Jones' first year.
Was Rashaun Jones younger or older?
Yep.
In what context did you mention Rashaun?
There was one time when I went to the dorms, and they were at the dorms, and you mentioned something about a kid who was
Objection, hearsay.
That did something to one of the players' room, since he got in on campus, no problem.
Were they friends?
No, teammates.
So you say teammates, not friends. As a football player or knowing your brother, was he able to be teammates with someone who might not have been friends with?
Yes.
Could they have had a cordial relationship in the locker room, but not one outside of the locker room?
Yes.
Did you hear Rashaun Jones' name on more than one occasion from your brother?
Yes.
So at some point, did Bryan tell you that Rashaun threatened?
Objection, hearsay.
Do you remember when he told you about that threat?
Yes.
When was that?
That was the summer of 06.
Where were you when you had the conversation or talking about the threat?
We were at my mom's apartment where we lived at. I was actually in the bathroom in the shower, and he walked in to take a dump, aggravated me, but that's my first heard that conversation.
So he's using the bathroom while you're trying to shower?
Yeah.
And what exactly did Bryan tell you?
Objection, hearsay, Judge. Can we do a sidebar?
No.
Objection, TMI.
I just had gotten home. He came to my mom's house, and I was asking him how the summer was. Is anything going on that I need to know about? And he was just like, no, there's one guy I don't like who threatened me. And it surprised me. And I said, well, who? He was like, that same, he was right before talking about the use of the courtroom. He said it was that same individual. And then I said, hey, listen, Sidney, don't take any threat language like that. And he was like, no, don't worry about it. I can handle it on. And I was like, hey, listen, I'm seriously spoken to Coach Cobra about it. He was like, no, I can handle it on my own. And Bryan was like, listen, if it's that, I'll shoot him first. That's exactly what he said.
And you just said Sidney.
Yeah.
What did you call Bryan?
Sidney.
And why was that?
Growing up, that's what we called him by his middle name.
Now, when telling you this is the same guy, did you know who he was talking about when he used that term?
Yes.
And was that Rashaun Jones?
Yes.
I don't know if it'll get better if we run that back because it's the issues with the buffer are built into the video, but I kind of want to hear what they called as some nickname that is supposed to mean Rashaun Jones.
And why was that?
Growing up, that's what we call him. We call him by his nickname.
Now, when telling you this is the same guy, did you know who he was talking about when he used that term?
Yes.
Nope.
And was that Rashaun Jones?
Yes.
Did he tell you what the threat was that Rashaun Jones had made towards him?
Yeah. It's on burn. So I'll burn you in the head.
Objection, hearsay.
Specifically in the head.
In the head or the head?
In the head.
Thank you. What did I could burn you in the head mean to you?
I'm going to shoot you in the head.
Objection, relevance, and proper opinion.
What did Bryan understand it to mean if you know?
Shoot me in the head.
Did Rashaun make any other threats to him?
Not that I know.
Did you talk to Bryan about these threats again later?
Yeah, it's about probably sometime in the fall, September, I believe. I just wanted to make sure he brought up the coach code.
Did he make a threat about the draft suit?
Objection, hearsay.
No.
And you said this conversation happened in the summer of 2006. Did Bryan tell you when the threat had been made to him? Had it just been made recently?
In summer.
Okay, let me stop here. Please review the rules of evidence. Hearsay is admissible in women's rules.
Judge, it's not admissible. Here, well, I have case law to say.
Okay.
To the effect that
You
it's
can
not.
give it to me after. Go ahead.
Now, we were talking about if you narrow down the time frame. Did Bryan indicate to you when this statement had been made by Rashaun to him?
No, I didn't know the specific date. He just said that
It's noted for the record or what?
he had to. It was recent.
It was recent.
Yes.
And what did you take recent to mean?
Sometime in the spring, or I know he had an issue with a decal and stuff like that. He kept bringing it up. But it was sometime spring, right before the summer. Or it could have been early next summer.
Had there been ongoing issues between them?
Yes.
Do you know how many other threats had been made?
No, that he doesn't know.
And why did Bryan tell you to handle it?
Oh, this is rough. It's still going. It's just.
I didn't like it. He said it so lightly.
Objections,
I don't think he should go back.
proper opinion.
Oh, it's
And
so
that
bad.
was the problem I had with him because I realized when I was they would take it like that lightly, but that was Bryan's personality. He didn't never be that serious.
Did Bryan begin carrying a gun on him for his personal protection?
Yes,
Do you know when he started carrying it more regularly?
probably around 2000.
Did Bryan have a weapons permit?
Yes,
Do you know how to use the gun?
yes.
One moment, Your Honor. I don't have any further questions.
Ross?
Okay, Mr. I want to talk to you a little bit about this statement. You said that this statement occurred while you and Mr. Pata were in the bathroom together.
Yes.
Said you were in the shower. He was on the toilet. And before your testimony today, you statement to a detective, correct?
Yes.
Detective Segovia. And isn't it true that you told Detective Segovia that this conversation was a phone call between you and Bryan?
No.
You did not tell Detective Segovia that.
Oh.
Now, the statement that you gave to Detective Segovia was in 2021, correct?
I gave that several times, but that was one of the times that.
You gave a recorded statement in 2021,
Correct.
March of 2021. Was the first revelation to look at the statement?
Yeah, sure.
court, Judge?
This is about the burn him in the headline that he just testified was told while he came into the bathroom to take a dump while he was showering, but he told Detective Juan Segovia, burner account guy, alleged burner account guy, it was a phone call.
That recorded statement that you gave to the detective? And that was in March of 2021, correct? Yes. And before that statement in March of 2021, you met with the detectives a couple weeks before that as well, right?
I believe so.
And you met with them at the police department?
Correct.
And the meeting that you had with the detectives at the police department was not recorded, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge.
It wasn't transcribed to your knowledge?
Correct.
And then after the non-recorded, non-transcribed meeting at the police department, they came to you for this recorded statement in March of 2021?
Correct.
And isn't it true that before you spoke with the detectives at the police department, 2 weeks before your recorded statement, you had never made this statement to any police officer or any detective before?
That's not true.
Who did you tell this to?
I'm pretty sure I told the detective.
You told it to the detective?
Absolutely.
Which detective did you tell it to?
Segovia and the initial.
And when did you tell it to Segovia and the other detective? No. You didn't tell them on the night of the incident, did you?
No.
You didn't tell them the day after the incident?
No.
Isn't it true that on the night of the incident, you didn't even think about Rashaun Jones, correct? You didn't, his name didn't even come to mind when you first heard that your brother
Yeah,
had
I
been
was worried about my brother who just got killed.
You mentioned a couple other names, correct? Initially, whenever you, on the night of the incident,
Objection to the Williams rule and outside scope of direct.
on the night of the incident, the first name that came to mind was Mr. Henry. Is that true?
Correct. That was his roommate.
So on the night of the incident, when you first hear about this, Mr. Pata's roommate was the first name that came to mind.
Yeah, of course, his roommate.
It was not Rashaun Jones.
Correct.
And then do you recall the time frame of when you told the detectives that Rashaun Jones' name for the first time?
No.
You don't remember?
No.
You're saying at some time before you met with them in 2021, you made that statement to detectives at some point?
Correct.
And you that's in the detective?
Oh, I'm sorry, this video is just horrible, but it's the only one I saw. And this is pretty critical stuff, pre-trial.
You think that's something that would investigate? Yes? Yep. Would it surprise you to learn none of the reports mentioned you making that statement? Let's talk about the 2020 or 2021 meeting that you had with detectives at the police department. Before that, there was a lawsuit, correct?
Yes.
Objection.
Lawsuit.
Does it have to do with the hearsay, the Williams rule motion?
It does, yes.
It hasn't been elicited by the state. Is this elicited witness you were going to be calling back?
So if we could come sidebar, I could explain how it goes to. So one of the things for us to do in this Williams rule hearing is the law can
Oh, this sucks. No. It's frozen for a while here. There we go. They're arguing about Williams rule stuff, which is, it relates to like prior bad acts, crimes. I think it's a Florida case, so in Florida we hear that term a lot. But it's really just like prior acts, crimes. He did just mention, I heard him say something about a lawsuit. So. Oh no, it's freezing, right? Tell me more.
You said you never heard about any other statements that Mr. Jones had made to your brother, correct?
Correct.
And after that conversation that you had with your brother in the bathroom, you didn't hear about any additional threats after that?
I heard it afterwards. I heard that I didn't know up until later, until I see how they actually got to physical altercation and stuff like that. What covers that too?
Mike, let me be a little bit more specific. After the conversation you had with your brother in the bathroom and the day that you went, there was no other conversation about additional threats.
Within probably September, he spoke to the coach.
He said that he did not.
No.
And he did not appear to be concerned about that, correct?
Okay, shout out to DB who just sent a link to a better video, but I gotta let the 30-second ad run because it's built into Local 10's website. And then we'll switch over and see if we can hear better. While we all get our ears perked up by the word lawsuit. All right, 2 seconds. Okay, this one's short. This is the one, right? Hold on, wait. It looks like a short video, DB.
And what did clip up mean to you at that moment?
Get a gun. Get your gun.
So yeah, these do look better quality, but I think we're stuck with this one for this witness. And at least for the full thing.
He was
We tried.
He would have brought it up if he was concerned.
But he reported it to the coach. He didn't report it to the police. He didn't report it to the school. He didn't report it to his apartment security guard.
He probably did. I don't know.
But you said he told you that he can handle it himself.
All right, so there doesn't seem to be any awareness that he reported it to security, and he's repeating that on direct. You testify that he said he'd handle it himself.
Reported this threat to the police.
Didn't report to the
Never reported
police.
to the coach.
No.
Never reported to the university.
No.
The arrest of your brother wasn't made, or excuse me, the arrest of Mr. Jones wasn't made until I only got more and more frustrated by the fact that there had.
All right, this might be a...
Statement. I just want to previously made the statement to a couple of detectives Segovia's name.
Which I'm sure Segovia or the initial lead detective.
And the initial lead detective was named Dominguez, correct?
Correct.
So the statements that you made before your March of 2021 meeting with the police officers, your statement where you told the police about Mr. Jones, that would have been to Segovia or Dominguez. Okay.
All right, let's see if redirect has any...
The transcript of the statement up there. If you look on 4, that's that statement, but this was on a phone.
No.
Did you tell them the same thing you told the court here today, that it was at the apartment?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify since they gave you that statement to review. Now, you mentioned on cross-examination that you later heard about other threats or physical altercations.
Yes.
At the time you told the police about the conversation you and Bryan had in the shower, or when you told the police about the conversation you and Bryan had in the shower,
With the dump.
was that influenced at all by what you heard later?
No.
From other people?
No.
After Bryan's death, did you speak to your siblings about...
Are we ignoring how, like, the subconscious mind works? Like, just because you don't think that something influences your recollection or the way you remember things, he's just plainly answering, and she's plainly asking, oh, information didn't impact the way you would have reported something else later, right?
Who could have killed Bryan?
Yes.
Did you all begin to discuss what you've heard from either Bryan or other people?
Question, hearsay, relevance.
So after Bryan died, Did you learn if Bryan had told your other brothers about the same threat he told you about?
Yes.
Okay, Suzanne. Did you later learn that Bryan had told other people about being threatened?
Objection, hearsay.
Yes.
Rodney. Now,
This is Edwin Pata,
you
brother.
mentioned that Bryan was concerned by the threats even though he brushed it off. Can you explain to us how you knew that?
That was his personality. Obviously, Bryan was a big person. He could defend for himself as a wrestler. We all wrestled in high school. We all, he actually one who taught me how to shoot gun. That wasn't a fear for him. And now, he was also to the point in his career as a senior where he didn't think that something like that would lead to somebody shooting and killing him. So I think he just brushed it off like he normally would.
So how did you know that he was concerned by that?
Because he brought it up. Usually, especially in our family, we didn't like to bring trouble because how we grew up, we already had enough issues of being poor, and not like to bring additional problems to the house. So we usually didn't bring problems up. It was something that we kind of still thought it was serious enough to talk about.
Did Bryan ever mention anything else on any other threats on the team, or even outside the football team? Anyone else threatening him?
Objection, hearsay.
Oh. Thank you. No further questions.
Permission for brief recall.
No, denied.
All right, so that was Edwin Pata or Pata. I don't know. I've heard it said both ways. I'll have to listen to the beginning of the video real quick to see how he said his own name. And then the next two witnesses, I think why this video wasn't on the Local 10 article that DB sent is because the quality was so low. But these other two are the same videos that are in the, well, this one and this one. So it looks like they're missing, there's 4. The article has these 2. Maybe those are the best quality of the 2. But they left out the rough one. All right, so this is Dave Howell. Same proceedings that we're watching. Hopefully this one is better. We will see.
President Palm Beach County.
In the state of Florida. And did you play football in high school?
Yes, I did.
What position did you play?
I played defensive tackle and offensive tackle as well.
When did you meet Bryan Pata?
So we first met in the summer of 2002 at the Miami Hurricanes football camp, the Black Open football camp. That's the first time we met.
Was this a football camp for people who had committed to the University of Miami?
No, it was just any recruit that they were interested in. They pretty much send an invite out, and those people would end up attending the camp. And, the coaches are pretty much hands-on working out with them. See how they do.
Had you committed to the University of Miami at that time?
Yes, I was committed in February of 2002.
Did you become friends with Bryan Pata?
Yes, I did.
Did you encourage him to come to the University of Miami?
Yes, I did.
What year did you start at the University of Miami?
It was 2003.
Did Bryan Pata start in the same class as you?
Yes, he did.
Now, after your football career ended, what sort of career path did you take? What is your current occupation?
Well, initially I went into the school district. I was a case manager, working with at-risk youth and then doing a lot of mentorship. And then in 2016, I got hired by the Delaware Police Department and been in law enforcement since then, so about approximately 8 years.
So now, going back to your time at the University of Miami, did you know someone by the name of Rashaun Jones?
Yes.
And how did you first meet Rashaun Jones?
He was one of the guys who came in the 2004 class. Enrollees.
And do you see him in the courtroom here today?
Yes, sir.
Can you please identify him by an article of clothing he's wearing?
The orange shirt.
Okay, and you're gesturing over towards the person seated next to defense counsel.
Yes.
So please let the record reflect that the witness is identified by the defendant. So you met him when he first began practicing with the team in the summer of 2004?
Yes, most of us come in and enroll in the summer, or some might come in the winter time, but yeah, we normally right before the season starts.
During the summer football camp or summer football time, did the players live in the dorms?
Yes, we did.
Was there an incident that occurred in the dorms involving Bryan and Rashaun in the summer of 2004?
Yes.
Can you tell us what you remember about that incident?
Okay, Bryan, myself, and Eric Moncur were all friends. We ended up walking up the stairway to head towards Eric's room, and as we got through the stairway to get on that floor, we saw Rashaun leaving out of Eric's room. So we ended up pretty much asking, like, what's going on? Like, why are you coming out of the room? And he was pretty much just like, nothing going on or whatever. So then he kind of went back in the room with us, and Bryan was questioning him. It was really light, honestly, initially. Like, we all were just kind of joking about it initially, like, what were you doing? Just more so suspicious, but just trying to gauge, like, what went on.
Was it odd for Rashaun or anyone to be in someone else's room?
Not necessarily, because we do have suite mates. I'm not sure who the suite mate was at that time for Eric. However, just because of the fact that it was Eric's room, and Eric was with us, and he was unaware. That's what kind of like the suspicion.
Were the three of you said that Eric and Bryan and you were very close? Were you guys close friends with Rashaun?
We were friends with them for sure. I would say we were like close. Like obviously, we all played the same like positions. The D-line. Rashaun was a defensive back, so he probably was more close with a lot of the defensive backs. But yeah, we're all cool. We're all friends.
And at that time, was he new to the team?
Yes, he was.
So if you can tell us what happened inside Eric's room.
So as like I said initially, we were just asking the questions and just like Eric's pretty much like always like joking and laughing, but as we continue to kind of pick and just try to see like what were you really doing, eventually Rashaun ended up getting agitated by how Bryan continued to ask the questions, what have you. So then Rashaun ended up saying he's going to leave the room. And then Bryan was like, no, we're going to get to the bottom of it pretty much. And then Rashaun was trying to walk out of the room, but he was trying to get through. And then that's when they both kind of engaged. Like Bryan grabbed him, and then obviously they both pretty much grabbed each other. And then Bryan ended up punching him. And that's when me and Eric kind of like looked at each other like, whoa, like that escalated quick. And I guess the whole commotion ended up occurring, and we ran over there to just break it up. People came out of the room, opened the door to kind of see what was going on, and then that's when Rashaun was getting up, and they fell on the bed. So it led from them standing to being on the bed. And then they got up, Rashaun was walking out, and Rashaun turned to Bryan and told him, he was like, might as well call you Zoe and quit up.
Okay, so I just want to go back a little bit. Where was Bryan's position when you all were standing inside the bedroom, or the dorm room?
So we were right inside of the door. Bryan was probably maybe like
Hold on, I want to run back. That was all one statement apparently coming from Rashaun Jones about calling your Zoes? Like calling your people?
and quit up.
Okay,
And Rashaun was getting up, and they fell on the bed. So it led from them standing to being on the bed. And then they got up, Rashaun was walking out, and Rashaun turned to Bryan and told him, he was like, might as well call you Zoe and quit up.
okay, so I just want to go back.
So why would Rashaun be familiar with Bryan Pata having Zoes? Which is like, it's like Haitian, like for your peoples. Like it just seemed, unless like, is Rashaun Jones also Haitian maybe? And would use that language? Or is that language that Rashaun would only use if he'd heard Bryan use it before?
Back a little bit. Where was Bryan's position when you all were standing inside the bedroom, or the dorm room?
So we were right inside of the door. Bryan was probably maybe like two or three steps in front of the door, but angled towards where the bed is. And then me and Eric were pretty much on the side, just like pretty much hanging by the one. Like I think I was on the right side, so it was near the bathroom suite, and then Eric was closer. I think that's the closet, but he was on the left hand side.
So when we talk about a suite, are the two one-room dorm rooms, or one-bedroom dorm rooms, connected by a bathroom?
Yes, it is.
Do you remember if that door was open and if anyone was in another room?
No.
was it possible for Rashaun to walk around Bryan without Bryan moving? Walk out the door?
It would have been close because of where I was. What I mean, as far as like,
So you walk around and then, open the door and just leave.
yeah, like he would have been able to, but it obviously been like a tight squeeze because we both were kind of like left and right to him, just kind of hanging there. So, we're bigger guys, so I'm just imagining like from his perspective, he would have probably been tight going through.
And you and Eric were able to break up the fight.
Yes.
Now, you said there was a lot of commotion.
Yes, sir.
And as Rashaun was walking out of the room, what did he say?
He turned to Bryan and said, you might as well call your Zoes and clip up.
What's a Zoe?
I mean, I'm not fully, knowledgeable of exactly where it came from, but a lot of people, especially more modern time, they kind of reference a Zoe as, a Haitian, somebody who's of Haitian descent.
Is Bryan of Haitian descent?
Yes, he is.
How did you and Eric react when Rashaun made this statement?
We both were pretty much like, whoa, like, it already, obviously, like I said, it went from kind of casual to escalated to hearing that comment. It was like, we really going there with it, and then obviously he left the room. Bryan then left the room too. I went with Bryan, just kind of like talking down to just kind of, see where his mind was at and, see if there's anything I can do to kind of de-escalate the situation.
Did Bryan have a gun on him when he was in Eric's room?
No, he didn't.
Was Bryan upset by the threat Rashaun made?
Yes, he was.
Did Bryan end up staying in the dorm that night?
No, he didn't.
And was that because of the threat and fight that had happened?
Yes, so when when I was obviously talking to him and just trying to, get him calmed down or what have you, I made a phone call, reached out to one of my friends that was off campus, asked her if she would be, gracious enough to let him stay over there just to kind of let things cool off, because I obviously didn't want anything to escalate any further, so she said yes, and then I told him, where she lived. He went over there and stayed over there that night.
What?
So after this altercation,
A stranger to him? Is there any like prior relationship between them? What?
The threat and fight that had happened?
Yes, so when he
Would you, if you thought someone needed to cool off, would you send them to a female friend's house? If you thought that they were the violent one, like maybe there was like a, hey, you just can't stay here tonight, but you don't in that moment, like maybe this arrangement actually happened. But to me, it would be more believable if when this all actually happened, it was simply, hey, you were planning to stay here tonight, but now you guys are beefing, and he says he doesn't want you here, but I have another place you can stay. Without any, oh, you're acting out, you're making threats, there's violence, people are heightened physically right now, I'm going to send you to this girl I know's house. Right? It makes sense at the first scenario, but the second scenario, it doesn't make sense. And this is somebody who might not have been in law enforcement back then, but if he had the drive to eventually get into law enforcement, you would think you'd be thinking ahead about things like this. This doesn't make sense to me.
Was that because of the threat and fight that had happened?
Yes, so
And he says that that's why.
When I was obviously talking to him and just trying to, get him calmed down or what have you, I made a phone call, reached out to one of my friends that was off campus, asked her if she would be, gracious enough to let him stay over there just to kind of let things cool off, because I obviously didn't want anything to escalate any further, so she said yes, and then I told him, where she lived. He went over there and stayed over there that night.
So after this altercation between Rashaun and Bryan, did summer workouts continue as normal?
Yes, it did.
Was there any animosity when they were in the locker room?
No, because where the D-line locker room area was is closer to the bathroom, and the DBs were over to the furthest end. So it wasn't like there was always time where you would see them kind of spark the defensive backs come into that area of the locker room. So they didn't intentionally have issues with each other at any point in time.
They didn't have to interact.
Right, they didn't have to interact, correct.
Now, that fall, did you have any other incidents with Rashaun for the fall of 2004?
Yes.
And in the fall, where were you living?
I was living in the Mahoney Pearson dorm room, and at that time I was moved over to the Mahoney side in a single room.
And where did the true freshman live?
The true freshman? It was in Mahoney Pearson. But they're pretty much scattered, like either side, Mahomes side or Pearson side.
Do you know if Rashaun Jones lived in the dorms? In that same dorm?
Yes, he did.
And was his room close to yours?
Not on the same floor, but I don't recall as far as, you know, where exactly the room or what floor.
Can you tell us about the incident that occurred?
Yeah, so we were inside of a mutual friend's room in the dorm. Her name is Patricia. And me and Rashaun was in there just kind of like hanging, and then we ended up like playing around, you know, something we call like slap boxing, which is pretty much open hands, just playing and see who can get connect on who. And he was able to swipe at me. I ended up connecting and catching him like pretty much on his chin and what have you. And then he made a comment. He was just like, "All right, I'm gonna be right back," like that. And I said, "All right, whatever," like that. So again, not thinking anything of it, and pretty much.
Let me just pause you a bit. Let's just go back a little bit.
Okay.
Who was in that dorm room with it?
It was me, Rashaun, and Patricia Dunuk. And that's how you say it.
And whose room was it?
It was Patricia's room.
What was Patricia doing at the time?
She was straightening up her room, like spreading her bed, just getting things organized, and we were just in there hanging with her, essentially.
Was it common either among football players or amongst like your friends or people in the dorm to slap box?
Yes, very much so.
Is slap box meant to hurt anyone?
Yeah, but not. It can. That's something that can escalate, obviously, but it's not meant for us to do that. Just more something fun to do to kind of see whose hands are faster or whatever, and that's pretty much how they kind of know about it.
So it's not meant to turn into like a full-on fist fight?
No, not at all.
And by hurt someone, you mean like slap someone?
Yes.
And is the purpose of slap boxing to connect with the other person?
Yeah.
So you're trying to avoid getting a slap?
Yes.
Okay. So, and what did Rashaun say to you after you connected with his chin?
He said, "All right, I got something for you."
And what did he do?
He ended up leaving the room, and then he came back momentarily. When he came back, I pretty much said, "I'm like, you know, ready for some more," pretty much kind of like. And he ended up drawing out, brandishing a gun.
This is where we're gonna. Now, this is where we didn't initially have mention of a revolver or specifics until closer in time, but back in like 2006, 2007, we never had specifics about it being a revolver or 38 caliber.
Did he say anything when he pointed the gun?
No, he didn't say a word.
Now we will.
She was to the right side of me, so she was still over here by her bed, sort of, I guess, like, you know, spreading her bed or whatever.
Did you say anything when he pointed the gun at you?
I was frightened, and I know I remember saying, "What are you doing?" like that, and I kind of raised my hand, like to go up towards my face.
And what did Rashaun do when he did that?
At that moment, he ended up pulling the gun back down and putting it back into his pocket.
Did he say anything else?
He said, "Man, I'm just playing," like that.
Did you think he was playing?
No, at that time, I was not there.
Yeah, I wouldn't think someone was playing either. I don't think it's cool to play like that.
Yeah, it was kind of like it got really awkward, obviously, but it was quiet, and then they ended up like kind of talking, and I ended up leaving, and he left, and going to, I guess he ended up going to his room.
Did you talk?
Wait. You left Trisha or whatever there?
It got really awkward, obviously, but it was quiet, and then they ended up like kind of talking, and I ended up leaving, and he left, and going.
He says they ended up like kind of talking, and I ended up leaving. So was he just trying to impress this girl and it wasn't really threatening? Because why would you just leave?
No, at that time, I was not there.
I don't know.
And did he stay in the room right then?
Yeah, it was kind of like it got really awkward, obviously, but it was quiet, and then they ended up like kind of talking, and I ended up leaving, and he left, and going to, I guess he ended up going to his room.
Did you talk to Patricia about Rashaun having a gun?
No, not at all.
Did you talk to her later
No.
about whether she saw him point the gun?
No, not at all.
Do you think she saw him point the gun at you?
No, because I feel like if she did, she would have, made an outburst. She kind of was one of those friends that was like, kind of like a motherly friend, always trying to give advice, always trying to, make us do the right thing kind of thing. So I don't think she saw it, she would have reacted, like, he said no.
Now, going specifically to what you remember about the gun, can you describe to us what you remember the gun looking like?
Yes.
What did it look like?
Okay, so it was a black revolver. And the only reason why I remember it was the revolver, because just kind of giving you some context,
Objection, Your Honor. No question. Continue.
Can you tell us how you knew it was a revolver?
I used to, look at like Westerns. My brother used to watch Westerns all the time, so I was, obviously knowing that it was a revolver because of the cylinder of the gun being there versus it actually having like a magazine and all that. So I knew it was a revolver. Didn't know at that time what the style of gun it is, but just being like in law enforcement and kind of seeing how it was smaller. It was a black gun, like it was a shorter.
So did you know it was that because of the Western, or did you know it because of law enforcement?
Versus it actually having like a magazine and all that. So I knew it was a revolver. Didn't know at that time what the style of gun it is, but just being like in law enforcement and kind of seeing how it was smaller. It was a black gun, like it was a shorter barrel.
Objection, Your Honor. Narrative.
Because didn't he say he didn't get into law enforcement until like 8 years after this rough point in time?
You can continue telling us the shot gun.
Yeah, it was a shorter barrel, gun, black gun. Like I said, you can see the cylinder and right there in the center area. And that was pretty much the description.
Had you ever seen a gun before that day in person?
No.
Did it leave an impression on you?
Oh, yes.
So you told us earlier that you've now worked in law enforcement for about 8 years.
Yes.
Oh, he's worked for
Looking
8
back
years.
Now, do you know what kind of gun it was?
So wait, if this is happening in 2022, and this all happened between 2000, like around 2004, then it was still that many years after, because, right, 8, 2022, 6, 2014, it would have been like a decade apart that he would have started working in law enforcement from when this supposedly happened.
It would be hard to state like which exact gun it was. I know it was a smaller caliber, like a 22 or 38, but it definitely, you can't just kind of look at a gun and kind of, make a determination, even if I was a gun expert.
So what exactly can you tell us about the gun that you
It was just a smaller caliber gun, just very small caliber gun, so that's why.
And it was a revolver?
Yes, it was a revolver.
Now, moving on to, I guess, the following school year, the fall of 2005, or between that incident, and you said that was in the fall of 2004 when you pointed the gun at you?
Yes, it was in the fall.
Do you have any other incidents or interactions with Rashaun out of the ordinary football team interactions
That year? In 2004?
Yes. And now going on to 2005, did you have any incidents with Rashaun that year?
Yes, there was another incident that occurred.
He locker room?
The fall of 2005.
Was that November 2005?
Yes, approximately November.
And can you tell us where this incident occurred?
It occurred in the locker room.
So he's the same guy. So 2 of those stories that I said came onto the radar at some point as like prior incidents, like these Williams rule evidence, come from Dave Howell here.
The team pretty much comes inside, and we end up getting everything prepared for us to go to our meetings prior to starting practice.
And what happened that day?
I went over to the DD section to confront Rashaun in reference to some comments that were allegedly made from him to my girlfriend.
Did Bryan go with you?
Yeah, he was behind me.
And what happened? What did you confront him?
So I went over there. I was telling him pretty much like exactly what she told me he stated to her, giving them the 2 comments that she stated that he made. And his response was pretty much insensitive, in my opinion. He said, man, I do that to everybody's girl. And I said, everybody's not my girl. And I told him, I said, we're supposed to be brothers, we're a team, what have you. And, that ain't cool, pretty much. And then he made a gesture. He was just like, well, you just have to do what you have to do. And he punched his hands and just punched his fist in his hand like that. And I reacted in obviously more of an emotional way, and I ended up punching him. And the altercation ensued, and then they broke it up pretty quickly.
So we have 2 stories now where somebody else is punching Rashaun Jones.
After the fight, did you have to speak to any coaches, or did you just go on to practice as normal?
No, I spoke with Coach Swayze and Coach Drake was also in the room as well. So it was this strength and conditioning coaches.
Was that the end of the altercation?
Yes, ma'am.
Did anything else happen that day?
So after I spoke with the coaches, and obviously I let them know I apologize for my actions, what have you. And, I walked back inside of the locker room, and at that time everybody was already into the meetings. So when I walked in, Rashaun was coming out of the training room, and in my mind I was, God, here we go. Like, I didn't know what to expect, what was going to happen, what have you. You know, and then he ended up seeing me, obviously, because we're literally in the same pathway, but he just coming from a different angle, different door. So we're coming that way, and then he made the right turn and go back to his locker. And I was just watching to see what he's doing, and he went and grabbed his phone, and he went immediately out of there. But the way he left out was kind of, you know, suspicious to me. So when he left out of
Anything else?
out of the locker room, I ended up going outside the locker room to the hallway of the heck. And one of the student athletes that was passing by, a female, was there, and she gave me a hug, and I was like, hey, how you doing? And then she ended up stating to me, like, oh, you know, nothing much, how are you? And I said, hey, can you do me a favor real quick? And I said, go over there and go outside, because Rashaun was outside by this time, like outside of the heck. And I said, just go by there and just say, you know, hi to him or whatever, to Rashaun, and just, you know, kind of see if you hear him saying anything or what have you. And then she said, oh yeah, no problem. And then that's when she walked outside. Obviously, I was still inside. So then I went into the training room, came back out. She ended up being in that area. And I asked her, like, hey, did you hear anything? Did you hear him say anything? And she was like,
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Your Honor, it's relevant to the time frame of these threats, not because this hearsay statement. The state's not seeking to admit this hearsay statement, but it's relevant to the other statements that have been made for the ongoing threats and the language of the statement.
As to the time, okay?
Your Honor,
This
there's
is
no
not
objection.
for the truth of the matter, right?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
There's no exception to the hearsay rule on this.
She said not offer for the truth of the matter, right?
How? It goes to the very heart of it.
She just finished saying
Can we
it's
go sidebar, Your Honor?
not to the statement.
Oh, let's slow this down. They're having a hearsay dispute.
She said not offer.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay.
There's no exception to the hearsay rule on this.
She said not offer for the truth of the matter, right?
How? It goes to the very heart of it.
She just finished saying
Can we
it's
go
not,
sidebar, Your
it's
Honor?
not to the statement, it's to the time frame and to the other threats.
Can we go sidebar?
Oh, so because there's other threats, we don't technically need this threat that we want to get on the record that he supposedly said to this girl that then relayed it to this witness. It's not hearsay asserted for the truth of the matter asserted, meaning to establish that Rashaun Jones was saying threatening things. This one isn't hearsay because we have other ones as well. That's not how that should work.
No, not necessarily, go ahead.
Your Honor, we object to this also because this is not involving the victim, it is involving this witness.
It's involving the defendant.
It involves the defendant with this witness, not with the victim. And it's hearsay.
Okay, but they need to establish the reliability of these statements. So I'm allowing it.
Your Honor, I'd like to have access to the record on this.
We may after we finish. Go ahead.
Mr. Howell, what did she come back and tell you?
so she just came back and she was just like, I don't know if that meant that he stated that, oh, they tried me, we're gonna have to clip up.
Was clip up the same term he'd used the year before?
Yes, when he was speaking to Bryan.
How do you know that?
Why didn't you go outside?
Because I was not trying to confront him at all. You know, I was making sure that like I said, when I spoke with the coaches, I already kind of knew that I, you know, kind of acted out of character in a sense, you know, so it wasn't anything more that I was, you know, seeking in that case.
So this guy has given us 3 stories. Let's digest this. We have the dorm room altercation. It's Eric Moncur's dorm room. We're going to hear testimony from him. Rashaun Jones gets confronted because they think he's doing something suspicious in that room. It's Bryan Pata who specifically confronts him. And the fight supposedly escalates, but it's Bryan Pata who punches Jones. So Jones is the one getting hit in this altercation. Jones is thrown on the bed. And Pata headbutts Jones 5 times. And when Jones is leaving, according to this witness, this is where he says the better clip up and better call your Zoes, call your people. Then we have from this guy also, we're in Patricia's room, and only I see him pull out this gun, even though the three of us are hanging out and slap boxing, and we hear that Mr. Jones like seems to walk away from where all three of them are in this room or suite or whatever, but he comes back to where they are. We have no information saying that Patricia leaves or that he leaves. It's just Rashaun Jones leaving and coming back and showing something that was this black thing he pulled out of his pants, and then he put it back down, lowered it back down, and we don't think Trisha ever saw it. We never said anything to her about it. But I know that it was a revolver. I know it was like the small firearm with the cylinder. I could tell by the cylinder. And then we get a third story, this locker room confrontation, where it's him who confronts somebody about something that Jones said to his girlfriend. We don't hear what that thing is. Maybe he was prepped ahead of time to not say the statement because there'd be a hearsay objection. Although, based on how this is going, I'm not sure they would have prepped him to not do that. But he confronts Rashaun Jones and punches him. And then we get this story where it seems like he's about to say, well, when I got back out of the meeting, he was almost making it dramatic as if we were about to hear Rashaun Jones retaliated physically, did something violent the first time he got to see this guy alone again. But nope, he sees this guy alone. He just grabs his backpack from his locker and keeps it moving. And then this guy goes outside, sees a female after he's complained about this guy saying inappropriate things. I think it's insensitive to my girl. He did this weird thing when we were in Trisha Jones' room. Even though I sent him to go stay with a girl after the Eric Moncur dorm room fight where Bryan punched Rashaun in the face. Now I'm going to send this random girl that I know, she's another student athlete, to go talk to him and eavesdrop. And she just comfortably comes back and reports to me. Like, this is, to me, it makes sense that he went into law enforcement, if you ask me. If he just like wants to be able to go set stuff up and trap people, that seems to compute. But I don't get why you would be putting all of these people in these situations with somebody that you genuinely think is like a ticking time bomb. So I don't know. I feel like there's like a little truth to these events. There was something that happened in a locker room. There was something that happened with the dorm room, which admittedly, this guy, it seems to be, it's not Rashaun Jones who's the violent one. The only thing he's saying is words. But everybody still feels comfortable putting someone purportedly in harm's way by sending a girl to go talk to him. It doesn't make sense to me.
And this was in November of 2005?
It wasn't anything more that I was seeking in that case.
And this was in November of 2005?
Yes, sir.
Did you ultimately transfer out of the University of Miami?
Yes, sir.
And when did you transfer?
Officially, I transferred in March of 2006.
Fair to say that you were not on the football team in fall of 2006?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions. Okay, Ross?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Howell.
Good afternoon.
You indicated that you were on the University of Miami's football team during the relevant period of time that we're here for today. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that you know my client, Mr. Rashaun Jones.
Yes,
correct? You also knew Mr. Bryan Patterson. Is that correct? Pata.
Yes,
correct. You testified, and I want to go incident by incident on this, right?
Okay.
Let's go.
And the first incident that you talked about was in the summer of 2004, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And in that incident, you said that you saw Mr. Jones leaving Mr. Moncur's room, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were walking with them.
Walking with Bryan and Eric. Yes.
What time of night was that?
I can't recall.
Was it after midnight?
I don't recall.
It was late, wasn't it?
Not sure.
You lived in that dorm.
Yes, I lived in a dorm, but I wasn't sure.
But you weren't going to your room.
Correct.
You were going to Mr. Moncur's
We were going to
room.
Moncur's room.
And you also had football practice the next morning, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But you weren't concerned that you had an early morning football practice.
No, not at all.
But you were going to visit at someone else's room
Correct.
late night.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time, you didn't know why Mr. Jones was in the room, did you?
No, not at all.
You came to find out that he didn't steal anything out of the room, did you?
Correct.
And you also came to find out that Mr. Jones had nothing to hide. He actually came back to the room, didn't he?
Yes, he came back to the room.
And while he was in that room, and he was being questioned by 3 of the football players, you, Mr. Moncur, and Mr. Pata, correct?
It was Bryan that was the person that was actually speaking to him.
But wait, so when you said we, you meant Bryan was the only one that was questioning him?
Yeah, when we were initially walking up, we were like, what you doing? Like, where were you coming from?
So
as we got in there, it was more Bryan speaking to him, and we were kind of just listening, hearing what's going on. And like I said,
I want to be clear. When you said we, did you mean Mr.
Yes,
Pata?
objection, we can allow the witness to answer the question.
Yes, sustain.
It's argumentative.
Okay.
When you said we, did you mean Bryan Pata?
I said, yes, Bryan was the initial person, or the primary person, I would say, that was asking questions.
And it was not Bryan Pata's room?
No, it was not. It was Eric's room.
Mr. Jones initially started answering questions.
Yes.
He was giving his answers.
Yes, he was.
He actually told while he was in that room, didn't he?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
I don't recall what he stated, but he did answer the questions. He was answering and responding to Bryan.
Do you recall whether or not he stated why he was in that room?
I don't recall.
You don't recall that?
No.
Mr. Powell was not satisfied with his answer, was he?
No. Based on what he was saying, that Bryan...
So what was he saying?
Based on the response that Rashaun had, Bryan didn't believe it. And we kind of, like I said, Eric was there, I was there, we kind of were like, that doesn't sound correct. It sounded fishy, sounded suspicious, basically.
You don't recall what he said, but you say that what he said sounded suspicious
Correct.
And fishy?
At that time, yes.
But you can't tell this court what he said.
No, I cannot.
So we don't have an independence of what he said to see if it sounded suspicious or fishy. Only your interpretation of it. Is that correct?
Objection, this is argumentative and outside the
Sustain, I think it's asked and answered. Go ahead.
It was Bryan Pata who prevented Mr. Jones from leaving the room. Isn't that correct?
We usually answer the questions.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that you ask the witness to answer the question first, and if he needs to explain.
No, he hasn't been able to explain. He said 2 words in the sentence, which I thought sounded like he was going to explain.
Look at him nodding.
I would ask that he answer my question and then explain it. It's a yes or no. And then you can
He doesn't
explain.
have to say yes or no and then answer. I'm going to allow him to answer to the best of his ability. You can continue.
Then I want an answer to my question, Your Honor.
Okay, then why don't you ask one and give him an opportunity to answer it, and then you'll get the answer. Thank you.
May you answer the question, yeah, please?
It was Bryan Pata who prevented my client from leaving the room. Is that correct?
So, as I was saying, as he was asking the questions and the response from Rashaun was not something of us believing in. Rashaun ended up getting agitated and he attempted to leave the room, and that's when Bryan put his hands there and they both grabbed each other, go back. Bryan ended up punching him.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, Your Honor. I still don't have an answer to my question.
I understood.
Did Bryan Pata, I don't, and I'm asking the question, Your Honor.
But
So did Bryan Pata prevent you from leaving the
hang on
room?
a second. No, I keep sitting hearing you interrupting both the witness and the court. So please, let's take it a step down. Ask a question, give everyone an opportunity, and then I'm not interrupting you when you're making objections. Just let me know what your objection is, and then give me a chance to answer it.
My objection, Your Honor, is non-responsive. I've asked a question that I have not gotten an answer to.
Okay. Overruled, but you can keep asking questions.
Did Bryan Pata prevent Mr. Jones from leaving the room, sir?
Overruled, but I'm not allowed to.
You can answer the question.
Yeah, ultimately, he ended up stopping.
Thank you. And when Mr. Jones continued to try to leave the room, it was Bryan Pata who punched Mr. Jones. Isn't that correct?
After they engaged, Bryan punched him.
And it was Mr. Pata who got on top of Mr. Jones on the bed. Isn't that correct?
They both were on the bed, yes.
And Mr. Pata was on top of Mr. Jones. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Pata head-butted Mr. Jones. Isn't that correct?
Yes, I saw that.
And you indicated that you were not familiar with the term Zoe.
I'm familiar with the term Zoe, but not like the origin of the word Zoe, which is what I stated earlier.
So
it's commonly used to reference Haitian descent, people of Haitian descent.
Where did you get that information from?
Common knowledge.
Common knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with Zoe Pound?
I've heard of Zoe Pound, yes, ma'am.
And are you familiar with the fact that the Zoe Pound is a gang?
I'm familiar.
And are you familiar with the fact that the Zoe Pound is responsible or is accused of doing murders in Miami?
Not familiar.
You're in law enforcement now.
So you indicated what Mr. Jones said in very detailed, specific language. What did Mr. Pata say?
At what point?
At the point when he headbutted him and Mr. Jones was able to pull himself away.
I didn't hear him say anything.
So is your testimony that Mr. Pata didn't say anything in that context of the room?
As I mentioned before, they were having an altercation. It was on the bed. I looked over at Eric. We both were shocked. We ran over there to try to break it up immediately. So it wasn't anything that I recalled in the middle of the altercation. What I stated was what was said after the altercation, after they were separated, after everybody was already in the room. It was a big commotion.
So after they were separated, what did Mr. Pata say?
When Rashaun made the statement, Pata turned around and said, "What?" Like that. And then as Rashaun left the room, Bryan left the room, I followed him.
So it's your testimony that the only words that Mr. Pata, who was angry, upset, so much so that he punched Mr. Jones, headbutted him on the bed, said, "What?" And that was the only words he used in that whole altercation.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't report this incident to the coaching staff, did you?
No, ma'am.
You didn't report it to the police, did you?
No, ma'am.
You indicated that your knowledge of guns came from your brother's love of watching Western movies, and I would assume that you were watching Western movies with him.
I said that I knew of guns from Westerns. My knowledge of guns came from my experience in law enforcement.
So the first time that you saw a gun, it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, was when you were watching it on Westerns.
Yeah, the first time I saw it on
And so,
yes.
and you knew of the revolver because of what you saw on the Westerns.
Yes, based on the Westerns, yes.
Is there any Western that you watched that said clip up?
No.
So, did you have a knowledge of what the term clip up meant?
Why would it be a revolver?
Yes, I had a knowledge of that.
And where did that knowledge come from?
Music, common knowledge again, culture.
You knew Mr. Pata had weapons.
Yes, ma'am.
In fact, he had an AK-47.
I never saw that he had an AK.
Objection.
Did you see any weapons that he had? I'm sorry.
Outside scope of direct for this situation.
Did you see any weapons that he had?
Sustained.
That was a different question, but.
That was the same exact word for word question. She said outside the scope.
Oh, I thought you were objecting to the AK-47. I apologize, Your Honor. I want to call your attention to this incident that happened. I want to be clear. This was the summer of 2004, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So this was 2 years prior to the murder.
Yes, ma'am. Approximately.
And in 2006, were you contacted by detectives in reference to the murder?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, you never told them in 2006 or 2007 about this incident that happened in the dorm room, did you?
No, I don't recall at that time.
Is there anything that would refresh your recollection whether or not you told the detectives anything about this?
Objection, proper impeachment. Because
Sustained.
Do you recall or not?
I don't believe I told him.
Oh, the deputy brought more drinks.
I want to talk about what you called the second incident. You were in the dorm room with Patricia Dunap. You testified that this began as a friendly game of slapboxing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Culture. People who slapbox with each other are pretty close, generally. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you that close to Mr. Jones ever?
I mean, I look at him as a friend, a teammate. I never had any issues with him. We were cool.
Were you close?
I was close to Bryan, Eric, a few people, so no, we weren't close. We didn't hang out every day, if that's what you're asking. And with Bryan, I was obviously hanging out often. I was my best friend.
But you didn't do that with Mr. Jones, did you?
No.
Okay, and so you're saying that you slapboxed with Mr. Jones.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that it started off with both of you laughing.
Yeah, we were just playing.
And Miss Dunap was in the room.
Yes, she was.
And this is a dorm room, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
About 10 feet by 10 feet.
I don't know.
Well, I think your testimony was that she was to the right of you.
Yes, she was.
So she was right there by you.
In the room, yes, to the right of me.
And you said that when you got the best of Mr. Jones, that Mr. Jones came back and he pointed a gun at you.
Yes, ma'am.
But you didn't know what kind of gun it was because at that time you didn't know you had not seen a gun before.
I didn't know type of style of gun or make and model of the gun.
And you say that when he pointed this gun at you, your testimony, I believe, today was that he put it back in his pocket.
Yeah, he concealed it.
You don't know where he put it. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, at that time, I was more frightened than anything, so I wasn't too sure. I was just glad that it was no longer pointed at me.
In fact, you gave a sworn statement in reference to this. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And in that sworn statement, you said that.
objection, proper impeachment.
Sustained.
How far was the gun from you?
I'd say approximately about 2 arms lengths.
And it's your testimony that when this happened, Ms. Dunac didn't see it and didn't hear it.
She didn't see it, didn't hear it. I mean, I don't know if she heard it. Yeah.
But she never said anything to you.
Correct.
And the motherly type figure that she was, she would have said something that y'all need to do better or y'all need to stop this or something.
Yes, if she would have saw it, yes.
So that led you to believe that she did not see or hear it.
Correct.
You didn't report that to the coaches, did you?
No, I didn't.
And you didn't report that to the University of Miami Police Department either, did you?
Not at all.
In fact, the first time that you disclosed this was 17 years later.
Disclosed it to who?
I believe it was the Detective Segovia. And that was in 2021, correct?
I don't recall.
I'm sorry?
I don't recall what year it was, but yes, I spoke with Detective Segovia and informed him of the incident.
Do you remember where you were when you disclosed it?
We met multiple times, I'm not sure what I did.
Do you remember meeting with him at your workplace?
Yes, I recall him coming to the department, yes.
And had you met with him before that?
I can't recall. Like I said, this has been, a long time, so it's been many detectives. I can't remember exactly when Detective Segovia especially.
Okay, so it is your testimony that you could have disclosed this prior to the 17 years?
I'm stating that I met with Detective Segovia. He spoke to me and asked me about the incidents, and I informed him of those incidents.
So my question to you, sir,
Yes, ma'am.
is did you reveal it to anyone? Is your testimony that you revealed this to any detective prior to the 17 years that passed since the murder and when this came out?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you reveal it to?
I don't know the detective's name.
When did you reveal it?
I'm not sure. Every one of these statements has been sworn statements, correct? So all of this is documented.
So would looking at your sworn statement help you with the date that you told Detective Segovia about it?
Of course.
Yeah. May I approach you on? I want you to take a look at it, and once you looked at it and you sufficiently refresh your recollection, then
It doesn't say where.
does it say the date?
Yeah, that's all 2020, November 11th.
So what was the date that you gave that statement to Detective Segovia, sir?
It's dated November 11th, 2021.
So the murder happened in 2006, and you told Detective Segovia about this in a sworn statement in 2021. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You said that you were close to Eric Moncur, correct?
Yes, sir.
You never told him about that incident, did you?
Yes, he knew it. He knew about it.
Mr. Moncur knew about the gun incident?
At some point in time, yes.
Before you talked about it with Detective Segovia?
No, not before. No.
So my question,
Yes,
maybe I was confusing.
Okay.
At the time of the incident, you didn't tell Eric Moncur about it, did you?
No, not really.
In fact, you didn't tell anyone about it. Is that correct?
No, I didn't.
I just want to be very clear too. When you said in the first incident that you went outside when Mr. Pata was outside on the phone because you wanted him not to be at the dorm or you wanted him to stay overnight with your friend Erica?
Yeah, I was on the phone.
You called Erica?
Yes, I called.
Okay. You're saying that Mr. Pata was not on the phone?
I don't know if he was on the phone. I'm referencing what I did.
Okay.
I was making calls to get him somewhere to stay.
At that time, Mr. Pata lived off campus, isn't that correct?
I don't recall. I'm sure he did. Yes.
You don't remember that, but you're planning rearrangements? That's odd.
And now, I want to call your attention to what you classified as the third incident.
Okay.
You testified that there was a fight between you and Mr. Jones in the locker room, correct? You said that he was insensitive when you approached him about comments that had been made to your girlfriend at the time.
Yes, ma'am.
It was you that approached him.
Yes, ma'am.
It was you that hit him.
Yes, ma'am.
It was you that was called into the coach's office.
I believe so.
You don't know whether or
Yeah, I
not?
wasn't sure if I went there or they called for me to go there. I don't recall.
But it was the coaches that talked with you about this incident, is that correct?
I brought it up from what just happened at that time.
And at the time, you took Mr. Pata along with you.
No, I didn't take him along.
Well, he went along with you.
Yes, ma'am.
So it was the two of you confronting Mr. Jones.
No, it was just me.
But Mr. Pata was there.
Yes, he was there.
He was there, and he's your good friend.
Yes, ma'am.
He's your close friend.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that after you left the coach's office, you saw Mr. Pata when he was coming out of the training room. I'm sorry, you saw Mr. Jones when he was coming out of the training room. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
He was holding ice on his jaw,
Yes, yeah, ice pack.
and that's where you had hit him.
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't know what was going to happen, you said, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But Mr. Jones never approached you, did he?
Correct.
He didn't say a word to you, did he?
Correct.
He went and got his phone, didn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
And he left out of the center, didn't he?
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't bother you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that he bothered you?
They
or-
did it. They didn't bother me.
And he went on about his business.
Yes.
You followed him, didn't you?
I went outside the locker room.
And then you sent someone to eavesdrop on him, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't think that was inappropriate?
Objection, separation.
I withdraw the question.
And Roland. All right, thank you.
So what happened when Mr. Jones left that locker room? You have no personal knowledge of what he said, do you?
No, I do not. You mean as far as me hearing him personally?
Sure.
Yes.
Mr. Hall, you're still very close to the Pata family, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
In fact, at the memorial service, you made a vow.
Objection relevant.
I think that it's extremely relevant.
Allow it for the intro.
You made a vow that you would do whatever you could to make sure they were good, didn't you?
Yeah, like if they needed me, health-wise, financially, whatever I can do to be of assistance.
You consider yourself in this testimony a part of the puzzle piece. Isn't that correct?
Say that?
You consider your testimony here a part of the puzzle piece, as you characterized it.
Objection, confusing outside the scope.
I'll allow her to rephrase it.
One moment to convert it on.
The deputy wants to hear. Why are they zooming in on his ear? Oh yeah, they are all up in him.
Your Honor, so that the record is clear, I'll withdraw my last question. But Mr. Howell, after this gun incident, you were still friendly with Mr. Jones.
Yes.
And you didn't have any fear of him at that time after that?
No.
And there was nothing that was done in furtherance of anything else. Is that correct?
Correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Your Honor,
Your Honor,
I'm sorry, redirect. I apologize. You're not yet. You will be sent.
I got one, but I'm not. Mr. Howell, so in the fall of 2004, how long had you been living in Miami?
Approximately a year.
Had you heard more slang and gotten to know different cultures once you joined the football team?
Yes, ma'am.
Did your fellow teammates come from different backgrounds?
Yes, I did.
So when you were talking about the knowledge of flip up and being common knowledge, at that time, was that something where you immediately knew what it meant?
Yes.
Had you heard other teammates tell each other to clip up for any reason?
No.
Was it surprising when Rashaun said this to Bryan?
Yes, ma'am.
And now, going to Bryan, did you know Bryan to be a member of Zoe Pound?
No.
Did you know what Zoe Pound was?
I just knew of I've heard the name, and like the actual, I guess it would say like they do video music and stuff, so I've heard of things, about it, like in that reference.
Did you know Bryan?
This is the first trial that we've watched where we have law enforcement on the stand because he's now a law enforcement officer. He's here to testify as a witness to when he was at the University of Miami, what he witnessed in relation to Rashaun Jones and some other people that were in their friends group. But he is now law enforcement, and he's probably, I would imagine, testified in his capacity as a law enforcement officer in trials in his last 8 years since he took this position. And here we have him on the stand downplaying. I've never seen this in any of the trials that we watched. Downplaying a gang and saying they just do music.
To be like affiliated with them?
No, not at all.
When you heard get your Zoes and clip up, did you take it to mean Zoe Pound?
I didn't take it to mean Zoe Pound at all. I took it meaning like whoever you was cool with, his family, whoever. And reference in that way.
And how close and friends were you to Bryan?
I believe both of us consider each other best friends.
Would you have known if he was a member of a gang?
Absolutely.
Or loosely affiliated with a gang?
Yes,
Now, going to defense counsel's questions about Detective Segovia asking you about these incidents years later, did any of the other detectives specifically ask you about these incidents?
I don't recall. It's just been so long.
If you hadn't been asked specific questions about incidents involving Rashaun Jones, would you have just brought it up?
No.
When Bryan was murdered, did you believe it could be a teammate?
Not at all.
Would, at that time, not believing it was a teammate, would these altercations with Rashaun and Bryan been like on the top of your mind to tell the police?
No, not at all. I specifically, said to myself, I kept racking my brain pretty much with what it could have been, who could have done it. I even recall in one of the interviews that I did early on, where they mentioned Rashaun, and I immediately was like, I don't think so. Obviously then I thought about him being a friend, as far as teammate, and just didn't think that whatever they had before would have escalated to that extent. So that's why I was like furthest to my mind.
And going back to the incident in the locker room, at that time, this is the fall of 2006?
2005.
2005. At the time of that incident, did you know that Rashaun had a gun?
Yes, ma'am.
He'd shown it to you or assaulted you the year before?
Yes, ma'am.
And when the girl on the track team came back and told you the phrase flip up.
Oh, did the video freeze there? Yeah, the video's still playing. It's just frozen on their feed. So we're not going to hear the redirect on the phrase clip up. Which again, I think is a weird phrase for someone to use if their weapon of choice is a revolver. Yeah, it's still going, but there's only 15 seconds left in the video, and I think it's just gonna kick out on us, unfortunately. No. Yep, so that's the end of that bit of testimony here from Dave Howell, who covered 3 of the incidents that we read in the initial, the foundation laying we did at the beginning of this session. I don't know. I really don't doubt that these incidents from the top level, broadly speaking, actually happened. And I also don't doubt that people don't think, especially someone that they were friends with, they don't think of all of the things that should have been the red flags, but then they hear somebody gets arrested and then they might think backwards and go, oh, well, maybe there was that one other time. Man, I wish I knew then. I think that happens, but it's a bit unusual that it seems like these stories seem to start with a premise that somebody else was the aggressor or trying to get back at somebody. And the target of those things was always Rashaun Jones. But after we hear that he's arrested, we have all these new details and all this new significance. And even when we're trying to answer questions about, well, was Bryan Pata preventing Rashaun Jones from leaving the room? It's, well, Rashaun Jones got agitated and yeah, then he tried to leave. We have to hedge everything with this qualifier that somehow characterizes Rashaun Jones as also doing something, even though the real answer is somebody else is the one that punched him in the face, or somebody else is the one that tackles him on the bed, or somebody else is the one that's obstructing him from getting out of wherever they are. So that to me is a bit, I don't really think I am reconciling that with what I would expect a normal person to just look back at a previous incident. They didn't think anything of it at the time, but now it kind of makes sense with something new that they learned about somebody after an arrest. It just seems uneven. It doesn't seem to balance itself. So I'm a little sus about this particular witness. The brother, I think maybe he lacks some self-awareness that sometimes new information can impact how you recall things. But whatever. Not that significant to me. But this was a lot. This guy was a lot in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. Next up we have, and these are all just snippets, right? We don't have a full stream with a hearing here. But next up it looks like the same proceeding with Edwin Pierre getting up. Yes, Fednol Pierre. Oh, and he's loud, sorry. We will nuke his volume a little bit. August 19th, 2025. Captions.
And how are you related to Bryan?
I'm his brother.
Is Bryan younger or older than you?
Younger.
How much younger?
Hold on, let's see. 6 years older than you.
Did you grow up playing football?
I don't know why. So his name says Fed here. Let me move the thing. The video title is Edwin Pierre, but then it says Fed, and we read about a different Fed. So the other brother's name was Edwin Pata. So we're going to call this guy Fed, even though the video title is Edwin.
Yes, we are.
And once Bryan started at the University of Miami, were you living in the same city as Bryan?
Yes.
How often would you talk?
Every day.
How often would you see Bryan?
Before he went to the University of Miami, before he ended up moving out, or
once he started attending the University of Miami.
Oh, he used to come home with me and my mother at home. Until his senior year, he moved out.
Would he come home on weekends?
Yes, every weekend he'll come home.
And how often did you speak on the phone?
Mostly every day.
Were you really close to Bryan?
Yes, I was the closest.
Closer than your other siblings?
Yes.
Despite the age gap?
Yes.
Did Bryan ever mention a teammate by the name of Rashaun Jones?
Yes.
Do you remember when you first heard about him?
Yeah, when they first got an altercation on the 7th floor.
Was that in the dorms?
Yes.
If you know, do you remember about when that was? What year Bryan was in?
I think Bryan was in his sophomore year, I think it was. His sophomore year, I think it was. Because that's when, Eric was ineligible for 1 year. And when Eric came, there was the whole crew used to be up on the 7th floor, rapping or doing anything together as one. So they also be a finger.
And that incident was the first time you heard about Rashaun?
The very first time, yes.
And who told you about that incident?
Bryan did.
And in what context did he mention Rashaun Jones to you?
That they got into altercation about it. They got into
Sorry, go ahead.
They got into altercation up in Eric's room.
After that altercation, did they become friends?
No. Never.
Was Bryan someone who could be a teammate with someone that he wasn't friends with and didn't like?
Yeah, still. He just came in, did the job, and didn't worry about him at all, or whoever it was, and kept doing his thing, and that was it.
So after that incident during Bryan's sophomore year in Eric's room, did you hear Rashaun Jones' name from Bryan on other occasions?
Yeah, I heard it another time before. Yes, I did.
At some point, did Bryan tell you that Rashaun had threatened him?
Objection. Yes.
And do you remember when Bryan told you about the threat?
I think him and Dave had gotten into a situation too again. And then that's what he was like, yeah, boys better clap up or clip up, something like that.
And what did clap up or clip up mean to you?
gun,
clap up?
gun in the holster, put the gun in, like a gun clip.
So the clip is the gun clip or the holster.
Yeah, the actual, putting the clip into the gun. Like,
So loading the gun?
Yeah, loading the gun, yes.
And what did Bryan tell you?
Objection, hearsay.
He said that him and Dave had gotten into a situation and they was still going through whatever, that beef, whatever, how it started. And after Dave, I think Dave ended up knocking him out. And then that's how the situation became the clip-up gun situation.
Did Bryan later tell you about another threat?
Yeah, that was this last year.
So the clap up or clip up with Dave, was that while Dave was still attending the University of Miami?
Yeah, Dave was still currently there, yeah, because they was both leaving treatment that day.
In the locker room?
Yeah, in the locker room, yeah. Or going to treatment, either one, I know was going to treatment. Or going home.
And do you know which season or what year that was? Or what grade Bryan was in?
I think it had to be, that was Dave's last, I think that was junior, I think it was junior, I'm not too sure, but it might be the junior or sophomore, one of them, I'm not quite sure what season or what year he was in between.
But you know
But
oh sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, but it happened between either sophomore and junior year, yeah.
And
Because Bryan's senior year, they ended up transferring, he was gone, to Portland, I think it was.
And that threat happened in the locker room?
Yeah.
Thank you for the 5 gifted, Kristen.
Now, did there come a time where Bryan told you about another threat that Rashaun Jones made to him?
Yes, he said that he was going to bury him in the trash can.
Do you know when Bryan told you about this?
That was the 06 season.
So can you give us a little context about the draft? Was Bryan in the situation to be drafted in the NFL draft that year?
Yes, ma'am. At the 07, like it was 06 that was his final year as a senior there, but that 06 in February when the draft was coming up.
So it was the 06 season for senior year in the 2007 NFL draft.
Yes.
When did, I guess, sports outlets and sports agents really start, I guess, telling Bryan or contacting Bryan that he was a real prospect for the draft?
Objection, hearsay, lack of personal knowledge.
Yes, I remember it was like, I think it was like when he started performing as a deep tackle, he started getting calls from different agents, and it was one particular guy named Jailhouse ended up calling him. He came to visit myself and my sister, and he was saying that I could get you in the top 15. That's when Bryan's name was all over the paper, and he excelled as far as moving from outside to inside, and he was getting recognized a lot for doing a great job.
So his draft prospect really went up during the 2006 football season?
Yes, it did, and also right after, like when he passed, around the time he had an invitation to go to the combine in Indianapolis, and Kareem Bryant was taking his position, his spot, because of his passing.
Did all of the talk regarding the NFL draft kind of happen? Did it speed up as the season went on?
Yes. Every game he elevated, he kept getting better and better, and he kept getting recognized a lot. And so, like, every week they're grading, and his grades was being at the top at the time.
Do you know when that invitation to the combine, when he received it?
It was in November, sometime in November of 06, the beginning or late October, November of 06.
So shortly before his death?
Yeah, shortly before his death. Because right after that, when this is like 3 days left in the season, and Kareem ended up taking his invitation to Indianapolis.
And what was the exact wording Bryan told you that Rashaun had told him?
Objection, hearsay.
He's gonna bury him in the draft suit.
The draft shoot?
Suit.
Suit. Yeah.
Had Bryan started talking about getting a suit for the draft?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. We end up with his homegoing. We end up putting it on him and leaving the rest of it with it on.
So he had already purchased that suit prior to his death?
Yeah.
And I know you don't know the exact date, but can you give us at all any sort of time frame, whether it's days or weeks prior to his death, that he told you about this threat?
It was like sometime in October of 6th.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but the defense may.
All right, thank you. Cross?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, if you need a minute to step away, you can have a minute to step away. Do you need a minute or are you ready to go?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. And just so that it's on the record, I forgot to mention before, the defendant has been here from the inception after our break as his attorneys in the city trial and continues to be. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. So, Mr. Pierre, I want to talk to you first about the threat that you testified to that you claim Bryan told you about, okay?
Okay.
You said that Bryan told you about a threat that came from Mr. Jones where he said, you'll be dead in your draft suit, something along those lines.
Right.
And you testified that Bryan told you about this sometime in October of 2006.
Right.
Okay. Now, November 6th of 2006 is whenever Mr. Pata passed away, November 7th of 2006, right? When your brother was killed?
Right.
And on that same night, you spoke with an officer, correct?
Yeah.
You spoke with a detective with the last name Gallagher, correct?
No, it was not Gallagher, it was Dominguez.
You spoke with Dominguez on November 7th of 2006.
Yes, he took me in the car.
And Dominguez asked you if there was anybody who had problems with Bryan. Do you recall him asking you that?
Yeah, I remember that.
And you did not mention Rashaun Jones, correct?
I did. I said, he asked me more than one time, do you think anybody outside that he had a problem with outside of the school? I said, no. I said, the only problem he had a problem with was Rashaun Jones because they had a fight.
Your testimony is that you told Detective Dominguez on November 7th of 2006 that your brother had an issue with Mr. Jones.
Yes, I did. He had a notepad and he wrote everything down in the car. I was in the car with him.
Did you tell Detective Dominguez on November 7th of 2006 about this bury him in the draft suit comment?
My mind was all over the place, so I don't recall, but I probably did because he wrote everything down that day.
All right, Mr. Pierre, I'm going to skip forward a little bit. Isn't it true that the first time you ever referenced this draft suit statement at any point was during your deposition?
Yeah, because I had to reflect and think back of everything that transpired before it's been so long.
So the first time you ever said this draft suit statement about this threat that your brother told you, that was during your deposition in that case. Prior to that, you never mentioned it before, right?
The only time I spoke to Dominguez was that night. I think the second time he showed me pictures, and then this deposition right here. The one, not too long ago.
Mr. Pierre, my question is a little more specific. The first time you ever told anybody about this draft suit statement was on the date of your deposition, isn't that true?
Yes, correct.
And the date of your deposition was June 12th, 2025.
Yeah, I told her, I spoke to them, I told them, correct.
Okay, and that's almost 20 years after your brother was killed, correct?
Right.
You had never told anybody up to that point in June of 2025 about this draft suit statement.
I only got interviewed only 3 times. The very first time was the night it happened. The second time, they would just show me pictures. And this third time was, nearly 20 years. This is the only time I had to talk to reflect and think about everything that was said between my brother and myself.
And during all 3 of those interviews, you never mentioned this statement about the draft suit.
Yes, I did not, because the first time was the night I spoke to him. The second time I seen the niggas again, it happened, he would just show me pictures. And then this time, in 2025, is when I had time to think about everything else, led to what it is today, and then that's when I started thinking and reflecting, and that's when I remembered.
Well, the first time you spoke to the detective, you mentioned the name Chico, correct?
I remember saying that too, yes.
So you mentioned that Chico might have had a problem with Bryan, the first time you spoke to the detective.
Right.
But you still didn't mention the statement about the draft suit from Rashaun.
Because it just happened, one, and in my mind thinking about any and everything that happened at the time of that time frame. Because other than that, he didn't have no problem with nobody else after that.
Okay. Now, the second time you spoke to detectives, did you also mention a club life fight that had happened that involved your brother?
Yeah, I was involved in it too, yeah.
And Willie Williams was involved in it?
Willie Williams, Richard Gordon, yes, we all was in that altercation.
And you learned about some threats that were made to your brother after that fight?
Well,
you learned about threats that were made. I'm sorry, I think there's a bit of a delay, Mr. Pierre. Let me ask my question again, and then we'll give a pause for your answer. After that club life fight, you learned that there had been some threats made to your brother and Willie Williams as a result of that fight, correct?
I remember, yes, I did.
Objection, Your Honor, this is not relevant to the Williams trial.
I'll allow it.
And you mentioned that in your second interview with detectives.
Yes, I did.
And you still did not, during that second interview, mention the draft suit comment from Mr. Jones.
Correct.
Okay. And then you spoke to them for a third time, and they spoke to you about your brother's ex-girlfriend, correct?
Yeah, Jada.
And they spoke to you about Gina as well, his girlfriend before Jada, right?
I didn't know Gina.
Okay. But they spoke to you about her, didn't they?
They mentioned it, yeah, and I told them I didn't know them like that.
And in that interview where they
Gina
mentioned
Dennis?
Gina, you still did not.
I think the Gina is Gina Dennis, because I've been looking at, we're going to go over in our second session later tonight after I eat dinner. We'll be back live doing session 2, all of the pretrial motions and docket dive. But I think they're talking about a Gina Dennis and another name. And by the way, what I'm looking at is discovery request in April 8th of 2025. So Rashaun Jones is arrested in August of 2021. In April of 2025, the defense still has not received basic contact information for any of these witnesses. They're asking for video recordings, police interviews, tips, leads that might have been sent into Crime Stoppers. They want discovery related to Michael Coco Pierre, who was the alleged gang member involved in a fight with Bryan Pata at Club Life and a possible suspect. All of this stuff. It's been 3.5 years, and this stuff hasn't been turned over in discovery. So we're going to go through that and a lot more tonight, but I think it's a bit relevant to what we're asking this guy about here.
Tell them about this alleged draft suit comment that you claim your brother told you about, Mr. Jones.
All I ended up telling them what was going on in between that time frame. I told them the other problems that I knew that was going on. We all didn't know what was going on, so he's asking me other questions other than him. If he would have kept talking about they had someone of him, then okay, then I would reflect and started thinking. So he kept asking other questions about other things and other people. So that's why it didn't come up on that.
Isn't it true that you told Detective Dominguez on November 22nd, 2006, that your brother didn't have problems with anyone?
I told him that he had issues with people, and I mentioned the names he had issues with. I told Dominguez the very first night that he asked me, other than the people I mentioned, did he have any other issues with any other person? And that's when I mentioned him. I said at the school, it was him. That's exactly what I said.
So your testimony is that you told Detective Dominguez on November 7th, 2006 about your brother's problems with Rashaun Jones.
I told him November 6th, the day he died, because he took me from the crime scene and he put me in the car.
Wait, so he didn't tell him about anyone having issues until the police officer picks him up and puts him in the cop car? Is he sitting in the back seat of the cop car when he suddenly says, oh, let me just give a name and say somebody?
It was him. That's exactly what I said.
So your testimony is that you told Detective Dominguez on November 7th, 2006 about your brother's problems with Rashaun Jones.
I told him November 6th, the day he died, because he took me from the crime scene and he put me in the car.
Now, after you claim that Bryan told you about this threat in October, you did not report that to the coaches?
I can't report to no coaches because I can't access to the school like that.
You didn't report it to the University of Miami?
Because I can't, I'm not there. I can't go to the school and say, oh, this is the issue. They knew what the issue was already. They knew because Randy Shannon and Coco knew about the situation. Coach Hurt knew about the situation. They even went in the office to talk about and trying to squash their situation. I know about that. But I can't go and talk to the coaches and let them know I couldn't do that because I don't have access to go to the school like that. Only time I have access to go to.
Mr. Pierre, you're aware that the University of Miami has a campus police department, correct?
I understand that.
And you did not report this threat to the campus police department.
Listen, let me explain something to you, okay?
Mr.
All right.
Is it
Wait,
true?
let him answer. You asked my question, and you didn't have an opportunity to answer. You can answer.
Okay. One, I don't live near the campus, all right? Number two, all right, my whole family's going through a situation of a death, okay? So I'm gonna report to the cops that came to our house to visit and talk to us. That's who was conversation and telling them. You expect me to go all into the school and report to the campus police? How am I do that when we are leaving and I'm dealing with family members and with my mom about the situation? So when the cops came to come talk to us, that they gave us their card, that's who we called and that's who we spoke to.
Mr. Pierre,
so that's what it is.
Let me be a little bit more specific. After you claim you heard about this threat in October, between October and the date that your brother was killed, you did not report this to the University of Miami?
Of course, because we brushed it off. See, the thing about the situation was going on between them, we were not worried about that because that was just talk. That was just talk. Because if that's the case, then if we knew they were serious like that, we would have been took that to another level and notified the cops or whatever. So we brushed it off like it was nothing. That was just basically just talk.
Okay, so you and your brother determined that this alleged statement from Mr. Jones was an empty threat, that it didn't have any credibility.
When he's saying that to me, he talked to me about it, off rip, we just knew that, okay, he's probably just talking, so I didn't know how deep it was because I didn't know until later on, it was more deeper than that.
And your brother he wasn't scared by it, he wasn't worried about it, he didn't think that it
No, he was not afraid. He was not afraid. He was never afraid. He was never afraid.
Now, you testified as well about a fight that you heard of where Mr. Jones said clip up after the fight. Do you recall testifying to that?
Yeah.
You were not there, correct?
No, I was not.
You heard about that from another person?
I heard that from my brother.
So Mr. Pata told you about that fight as well?
Yes.
Mr. Pierre, have you ever been convicted of any felonies or crimes of dishonesty?
Yes, I did.
How many times?
Once,
When was that?
back in 2011.
Moment to confer, Judge. I have no further questions, Judge.
Briefly. Mr. Pierre, back on the evening of your brother's death, and in the immediate days and weeks after, were you giving the police lots of names to investigate?
Yes.
Do you remember exactly word for word what you told them every time?
No, I do not.
At that time, initially after his death, did you think it was a teammate?
Yeah, because due to the circumstances of like how everything played out. I mean, because like every other weekend, I used to come visit my brother. His time off was with us. He didn't have no outside, situation that was going on like that, other than petty club fight about the rims that he purchased from someone that didn't know it was stolen, got rid of those rims, and maybe a few altercations because with Jada, that's it. But we were not in the streets to go ahead and try to like start stuff and just be embarrassed, knowing that he knows that what he was trying to do as far as the first one in the family and take care of mom, and do all this. He was not going to jeopardize his career on doing dumb stuff, and that's just that's what the bottom line was. So he was not looking for trouble,
And was Bryan ever a member of the Zoe Pound gang?
Never. They way older than they way older than all of us. Bryan was only at the time he was 22. He just left the house at 21.
All right, thank you, Fednol. I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
All right, it ends there. The next witness. Let's do this. Then we've got Eric Moncur, so the guy whose room it was when Bryan punches Rashaun in the face.
Good afternoon, Mr. Moncur. Can you please introduce yourself to the courtroom? Tell us your name.
Eric Moncur.
Did you grow up in Miami or Miami-Dade County?
Yeah, I grew up in Miami-Dade.
And where did you go to high school?
Miami Carroll City Senior High School.
Did you play football in high school?
Yes.
During high school, did you meet someone by the name of Bryan Pata?
Yes.
Can you tell us how you first met him?
I met him on the way to an All-Star game on the plane.
Do you remember what your high school was for?
2002.
And when did you graduate?
2002.
So this was your senior year?
Yes.
At that time, had you committed to play for any university?
At that time, no.
And did you know whether or not Bryan Pata had committed to play for any university?
Yes, when we met, he told me that he was committed to Miami and we should go together.
Prior to meeting him on that plane to the All-Star game, did you know who he was?
Yes, I know who he was. They played for a rival high school team in Miami.
Did you play the same position?
Yes.
And what position was that?
Defensive end.
Ultimately, did you end up attending University of Miami to play football along with Bryan Pata?
Yes.
During the time, from the time you met him on the plane to the time you started playing football, did you continue to communicate, become friends?
Yes.
Do you know someone by the name of Rashaun Jones?
Yes.
Do you see him in the courtroom Thursday?
Yes.
Can you identify him by an article of clothing he's wearing or something identifiable about him?
I'm not sure.
Please let the record reflect that the witness has pointed to and identified the clothing item worn by the defense Rashaun Jones. And when did you first meet Rashaun Jones?
His first year at university. So,
In the summer? Can you tell us, do football players start the university earlier than the general freshman class or come to campus earlier?
yeah.
And why is that?
We're on campus before all of the other students to, prepare for the season.
And was Rashaun Jones on the football team?
Yeah.
And if you recall, what position did he play?
Defensive back.
So during this summer training, did the football players live in the dorms? Did all of the players who lived in the dorms live in the same dorm?
No, we live in, during the school year, we would live in, like a specific dorm, and then during the summer, we would have to move out and move to another dorm.
But were all the football players together in this other dorm?
Not all of them, some lived off campus, some still.
But the ones who lived on campus?
Yeah.
That summer, did you share a room with anyone?
No. I mean, I had a suite mate.
And who was your suite mate?
Willie.
Do you know if Rashaun Jones lived in the dorms that summer?
Yes.
Yes, he lived there?
Yes, he did.
Can you tell us, was there an incident that occurred in the dorms that summer involving Bryan Pata and Rashaun Jones?
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that came to be?
Yeah, Bryan was coming from home. He picked me up kind of late, so I was upset about that. Because we had early morning workouts.
How early are we talking?
6 o'clock.
In the morning?
Yeah. And Bryan was gonna spend the night in my room. And when we came upstairs, the door was locked. And so when the door was locked, we went upstairs. Then we went up to Dave Howell room. And then walked back downstairs and we saw Rashaun running down the hall. And Rashaun was just like, he was trying to get some DVDs from our room. And then he
What
came
kind of
back,
DVDs?
And
How did he come back? Was anything said to him?
no, he just walked back to the room.
And what did you do?
I was just like, don't tell him don't come in while I'm not here and stuff like that. And Bryan started arguing with him, and then they started fighting, and then I separated them, and then Rashaun told him he might as well go ahead and clip up. And
Let me just stop you there. I just want to break this down a little bit. Was your room really locked? Did you usually keep your room locked? So was it unusual to find that your door was locked?
yes,
Why didn't you just unlock it?
I didn't have the key.
And when you came back down, who were you with?
I was with Bryan and Dave.
Was anyone else around?
No.
Did you go back inside your room?
Yes.
Who went inside your room?
Me, Bryan, and Dave went into the room, and then like a few minutes later, Rashaun walked in.
And did you and Bryan confront him about why he's been in your room? Was that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
And can you describe for us, like, how big was your single?
It wasn't that big, maybe.
Like, what are items of furniture were in there?
I had a king size bed. Well, I had 2 beds put together. It was made it a king, and
That's what's
that
up.
was pushed to the wall, and then there's like a little bit of space in front of the bed to the TV where my desk and stuff was.
So when you, Bryan, Dave, and Rashaun were in the room, was there a lot of space to move around?
Not really.
And can you explain to us how Bryan acted towards Rashaun?
He was upset. He was pissed.
Was he pissed for any other reason, or just because he was in your room?
He was more pissed than I was. He was upset that he was in his room, in my room.
And what did Bryan do?
He started arguing with him, and then I think he pushed him, and then he hit him, and then he fell on the bed, and then he got on top of him, and he was hit. But
Who got on top of who?
Bryan
Got on top of
himself.
Rashaun. And how did you break it up?
Picked him up, pulled him off.
And after you broke up the fight, what happened next?
Rashaun said, well, you know, you gotta go ahead and cook up. And then I walked out the room, and then Bryan, you got on the phone, and he walked out the room. And I stayed in there. I stayed in my room because I was like, oh my God, you know, told him it was tripping. I wanted to get sick because I had to be up there.
And what did clip up mean to you at that moment?
Get it good. Get you good.
To your knowledge, did Bryan understand it to mean that as well?
Objection, speculation.
You can answer. Was that a common phrase or commonly known to you at the time?
You know what it means.
If you know what it means, does that mean you've heard other people say it and nobody's actually came after clipping up to come get at you? In other words, people just say it?
Did you ever leave the room that night?
No.
Did you believe that they were going to go shoot each other that night? Or that Rashaun was going to shoot Bryan?
No.
Now, you said you had a suite mate next door. Did your suite mate Willie ever come over?
He came over a few times, but...
That night.
Oh, no, not that night. No. I didn't see him that night.
Do you remember whether anyone was in the hallway?
No.
All right, thank you, Eric. I don't have any other questions.
All right, so context here. Remember, the shooting happens in November of 2026. That's when Bryan Pata is killed. This dorm room incident is August, approaching end of summer of 2004. 2 years before the shooting happens.
Yes, thank you. All right, Mr. Moncur. So I want to talk to you about the timing of this incident that you just testified to. This occurred in the summer of 2004, correct?
I could have just waited.
I don't think it was the summer of 04.
Summer of 2005, then?
May have been 05.
Okay. So you said Dave Howell was there, correct?
Dave, yeah.
And Dave Howell transferred to another school at some time while you were at the University of Miami, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Sorry. And Dave Howell transferred before the 2006 season, correct?
I forget exactly when Dave transferred.
Would it refresh your recollection and take a look at your deposition transcript where that's discussed?
Yes.
One moment, Your Honor.
You're the deputy.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Mr. Moncur, I am showing you a copy of your deposition transcript. You can go ahead and review these couple pages, page 58 and 59. Review them. When you're finished, look up at me, and I'll ask you if that refreshes your memory.
Oh my gosh, sorry about these videos. It's just how the videos
Has
themselves
your
are.
recollection been refreshed about when Dave transferred away from the university?
So Dave, yeah, he was in Portland in 2006.
Okay, so Dave Howell was already at the University of Portland or at a school up in Portland in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And you said this incident happened during the summer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. So that would have to be either the summer of 2004 or the summer of 2005, correct?
Right.
And this incident, you said Willie Williams was also present in the dorm room. He was your roommate?
He wasn't present in the dorm.
He was present in the dorm building, correct?
He wasn't there.
He was staying in that same building as you that summer, though, right? And he also transferred before the 2016.
Exactly when he transferred.
Okay, but you know Dave did?
Yeah.
Okay. So this incident happened summer 2005 to 2004, correct?
Right.
And now you were on scene the night Mr. Pata was killed, correct?
Yes.
And that was November of 2006.
Objection, relevance outside the scope of this motion.
Hold on for now, let me see how he does it.
That was in November of 2006, correct?
Yes.
So this fight that you're talking about happening in the dorm room occurred more than a year before Mr. Pata was killed.
Right.
Okay. Now let's talk about some of the specifics of this fight. You testified that Mr. Pata was more upset that Rashaun was in your dorm room than you were, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Pata confronted Rashaun about it.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Pata pushed Rashaun.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Then Mr. Pata punched Rashaun.
Yes.
Mr. Pata was the first person to make any physical contact that night.
Yes.
And then Mr. Pata got on top of Rashaun.
Yes.
He headbutted Rashaun multiple times, correct?
Yes.
And Rashaun was actually in a sling. Rashaun was not in a sling that night. Okay. Rashaun did not want to fight Bryan Pata. Do you agree?
Right.
He did not. Bryan Pata is the one who wanted the physical altercation. Do you agree?
Objection, speculation.
I'll ask again. I heard your answer, but I'm going to ask again so the record's clear. Bryan Pata is the one who wanted this physical altercation, correct?
Yes.
Not Rashaun Jones.
No.
Okay. Now let's talk about this phrase. You said when Rashaun walked out of the room, he said, you might as well go clip up, or you should go clip up, something along those lines, correct?
Yes.
And you said based on your knowledge at the time, that phrase clip up meant that Bryan Pata should go and get a gun. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this was a common phrase at the time. You understood what that meant?
Yes.
You've heard people use that phrase before?
No, but I know what it meant.
You knew what it meant. And now, this fight, the fight in and of itself, it wasn't uncommon for football players at the University of Miami at the time to have fights with each other, correct?
Yes.
There were fights between teammates all the time. I'm sorry? Yes?
Yes.
So it's not unusual for two players to get involved in a fight, nothing outside the ordinary day.
We would do it like in the locker room, though, like if anybody had a problem with somebody, we would settle it like a little wrestling match in the locker room.
But physical altercations weren't something that were uncommon between football players.
Not fighting, like fighting and trying to hit each other in the face. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Yeah.
And Now, after Rashaun left the dorm room and made that statement, you testified that Mr. Pata then got on the phone.
Yeah, he got on the phone and he left my room.
And Mr. Pata was calling people.
He got on the phone and he left my room.
Do you know who he was speaking with?
No.
And then after this, this night of the fight, or the day of the fight, you didn't hear anything about it after that, correct?
No.
You didn't hear any further arguments about the fight that had happened in the dorm room that night?
No.
Bryan Pata didn't bring up anything else that happened after the fight that night?
No.
Mr. Jones didn't bring up anything after the fight that night that you were aware of?
No.
And Mr. Jones, you've never seen him with a firearm, correct?
No.
You've never heard him speak about firearms, correct?
I never heard. No.
You never heard Mr. Jones discuss firearms?
No.
You never heard Mr. Jones say he owned a firearm?
No.
You never heard of any incident involving a firearm that included Mr. Jones?
No.
You never heard of any incident where Mr. Jones pointed a firearm at somebody?
No.
So as far as firearms go, Mr. Jones, as far as you're concerned, you never heard anything at all about Mr. Jones in connection to a firearm, correct?
No. Not while we were in school.
Okay. But Mr. Pata did own firearms, right?
Yes.
He owned multiple firearms.
Objection relevance as to outside the scope of direct and as to this motion.
Okay.
Was Mr. Pata known to own firearms at the time that this incident occurred?
Same objection.
Now, as far as, the information that you had, your relationship with Mr. Jones and Mr. Pata, after this fight, you didn't believe that it was a continuing issue, correct?
No.
You thought that it was squashed that night? You don't believe that Mr. Jones held any continued animosity because of this specific fight, correct?
No.
Moment to confirm.
Okay.
Mr. Moncur, just a few more questions. I want to ask about some of the statements you made after this fight and after you heard Mr. Jones make the statement after you saw Mr. Pata on the phone, okay? You had a conversation with Mr. Pata, or you made some statements to Mr. Pata when you saw him on the phone, correct? After you saw Mr. Pata on the phone, isn't it true you told him, y'all are really going to shoot each other over this? You guys are tripping.
I said that out loud.
You said that out loud?
Yeah.
So after you heard all of this, you said, y'all are really going to shoot each other.
I said, y'all are tripping.
Did you say y'all are really going to shoot each other over this?
I didn't say, y'all really, I said that to myself. I said, y'all tripping. Like, I'm thinking, like, y'all really gonna shoot each other and shit? I mean, shoot them, I'm sorry.
Did you say that part out loud, that y'all really going to shoot each other about this shit?
No.
You thought it. You thought y'all were really going to shoot each other.
Yeah.
So you thought y'all, meaning both of them, they were really going to shoot at each other, both of them shooting, correct?
Yes.
And is that because you were aware that Mr. Pata owned multiple firearms at the time?
Objection.
Okay.
Perfect. Last question, Mr. Moncur. And just to be clear, after this incident, after you heard this, you didn't actually believe that anybody was going to shoot anybody over this incident, correct?
Correct.
No further questions, sir.
Thank you. Rita. Yes, Sharon.
Mr. Moncur, were you ever close to Rashaun Jones?
Who? Wasn't like close or anything like that.
At the time this incident happened, was it odd for lowerclassmen to be in your dorm room without your permission?
I was for anybody to be in my room without my permission.
Were you closer to Bryan than you were to Rashaun?
Yes.
That night, inside your dorm room, when the physical altercation happened between Bryan and Rashaun, did Bryan have a gun on him? And prior to the incident in your dorm room, to your knowledge, had Bryan and Rashaun had any issues?
Not to my knowledge. Well, like altercations?
Yes. Prior to the time of your girlfriend, not after, but before. Now, after this, did they have further altercations?
Objection. Relevance outside the scope.
Overruled. You can finish answering.
I didn't see anything, but no.
Are you talking about physical altercations?
Yeah.
Thank you. For the question.
All right, thank you. You're excused. Have a good afternoon.
Oh my God, sorry. Sorry, ears. I put an ears in the chat. Oh, this autoplay is something. I think it only does that because it's a playlist, because I don't have autoplay enabled when I load a video, so my bad. My bad. Last two clips for pretrial clips that we're going to look at. We've got, this is taking us all the way up to 2026 now. Just two quick clips here, and then we're going to get back together. I'm going to eat some dinner and then start up another stream where we're going to go through docket readings. We're going to do motions. We're going to look at what was going on in the docket. There's a lot of stuff about former prosecutor Michael von Zamft. I think you guys will think is spicy. And then tomorrow we're going to get back together and watch the trial tomorrow morning. So, oh my God, sorry, I did it again. I'm sorry, guys. Put like L's in the chat for Katt. Let's do that.
Miami Hurricane football player is charged in the murder of his teammate, Bryan
My bad, I'm
Pata.
sorry, guys.
Local 10's CRISTINA Vasquez is covering this one for us. She joins us live from Miami. What happened this morning?
A bombshell of a moment just unfolding a short time ago. Imagine this. Today was scheduled, as you said, the opening statements in the second-degree murder trial of Rashaun Jones. So he is the former Miami Hurricane football player, you might remember, who the state prosecutors now say they believe he murdered his teammate, Bryan Pata, almost 20 years ago. So this murder happened in 2006. It actually wasn't until 2021 that state prosecutors and police here would arrest and charge Jones for that. This is following some in-depth reporting that had happened in 2020 by ESPN. So you can imagine you have family members from both sides in this courtroom. Jones has always professed his innocence. In fact, he refused a plea deal. And you might remember we covered that moment here at Local 10 News, where he just said he believes that he's innocent. If it takes a trial, then here we are. So this trial today, this moment, as I'm joining you live, especially when you consider the family members for Pata, is 20 years in the making, when all of a sudden the morning opens with the defense team presenting whole new potential evidence to the court that they say they received late Friday, Monday, yesterday, a holiday, making this the first opportunity they had to present to the court. And they say what they discovered late Friday is an investigation by Immigrations and Customs Enforcement that they say involves a special agent, a confidential a witness, that there is also a potential confession, all related to a hitman, Haitian gangs, and they believe it intersects with the victim in this case. You can imagine the judge being able to all of a sudden receive this information and saying, I couldn't even make an effective ruling unless I learned a little more. She then went to the prosecution. The prosecutor said they also obviously received this information from the defense late Friday. They're calling it hearsay. Defense says it's due process for them to be given the opportunity for their client to figure out and vet this information. All of this, keep in mind, would consider, let's say they would move forward with it, a deposition of the special agent in this apparently ICE investigation that they just found. So the judge just hit pause on everything. She said, listen, let's send the jury out for an early lunch. We'll reconvene at 12:45. The judge, as I'm joining you live, based on what she said in open court, is beginning to review some of this documentation that the defense has, which includes apparently this ICE investigation, which might intersect with this case and a hitman and a confession. The defense said what it's going to do during this period of time is meet with its own team, because the judge sort of asked, do you need time to investigate all this? Because if you plan to bring any of this up in opening statements, then you have to first do these things, like these steps, these procedural steps of criminal procedure, the deposition and so forth. So they're meeting to discuss that. So what happens when everyone comes back at 12:45? We're just going to have to see. We'll likely be leaning in to hear what the judge has to say, whether she decides to bifurcate this process and the prosecution decides to start with its opening, and maybe the defense decides to delay its opening, which is a common thing they can do at the start of their case. We just don't know. So late breaking, and stay tuned. We'll see you as soon as the earliest shows at 3 p.m. and have an update on what happened today. Reporting live for you.
Sounds like whenever we would see a mess happen in court, but the feed cuts out and we don't exactly get to hear what's going on until we come back. And then there was one more clip. We're gonna load this carefully. The boost is off. Maybe I should load it in a different window and then bring us over to it. Yeah, we'll do it that way. Let me switch us in a different window with safe volume.
In a decades-old murder case, moments before the trial of Rashaun Jones was set to begin, Jones' attorney made a bombshell claim about the 2006 killing of Bryan Pata. CBS News Miami's Nakaya Carrero is your reporter at the Miami-Dade County Courthouse in Miami with what happened in court. Nakaya?
Lauren, since our last report right here on CBS News Miami at 5, the legal teams re-entered the courtroom after deposing an ICE special agent again for a second time. Now, that ICE agent went into more detail about the new allegation that a Haitian hitman is responsible for Bryan Pata's murder.
Specifically, he said that the confidential informant told him that Wilmer Yacinth had told him he was doing voodoo at the gravesite. And that information went from Yacinth to the confidential informant.
Originally, the legal teams were only allowed to ask the ICE agent 6 questions regarding the new revelation, Pata's murderer.
All right, if you're not looking at the screen, look at this. I think that's the prosecutor, kind of high energy here.
Doing voodoo at
this is the defense, but this lady that they're going to show.
Went from Yacinth to the confidential informant.
Originally, the
look at this is the prosecutor.
Teams were only allowed to ask the ICE agent 6 questions regarding the new revelation. Pata's murderer was allegedly a Haitian hitman. Attorneys were allowed to depose the ICE agent again. That agent confirmed the confidential informant told them the person killed was UM football player Bryan Pata, and the newly surfaced hitman did voodoo at the gravesite.
And the special agent went to the gravesite, was able to find items that were related to this kind of stuff in the locations where the confidential informant told him they would be, based on the information.
There were well-meaning members of the community doing these types of rituals, hoping that Bryan would speak to them through the grave so that the police would get a tip. They were praying for the police to get a break in the case.
40-year-old Rashaun Jones sat in a beige sweater as his defense team delayed his trial for the 2006 murder. According to the defense, late Friday, an ICE agent confirmed that a confidential informant told them a Haitian hitman was responsible for Pata's murder, arguing the lack of investigation.
I don't know how we can effectively cross-examine on failure to investigate leads if we can get into some details about those leads.
But the prosecution team argued it should not be allowed into the courtroom because it is hearsay.
Here, as we've gone over ad nauseum, hearsay within hearsay within hearsay. There is no other supporting documents. There is no other witnesses that testify to this information.
So there we go.
Now, the judge says court will resume tomorrow morning at 10:30 with both the defense and prosecution legal teams expected to present their opening statements.
Oh, and I can't wait to watch that, you guys. So this is going to be the end of session 1. We're going to get back together for session 2 in about an hour. If you guys want to go through the motions and the docket and the orders before trial. Session 3 tomorrow morning, unless you guys tempt me to like do a midnight stream tonight to watch the trial. Session 3 will be trial 1 watch. And for those of you that are here right now watching this, what are your thoughts on this case so far? From anything you've seen. From anything you've seen. Just drop it in the chat real quick. Drop it in the comments if you are in replay crew. Because I think it's a lot. My characterization is there's a lot going on here. And again, if you've watched a cold case with me, I would never want to be in a position where you tell me a decade, 2 decades later that I need to defend myself against something that I can't go back in time and start coming up with receipts for where I was that day or remembering what I was doing that day 20 years ago, right? So the idea of imagining myself in this situation, and I would imagine people hearing this news story like, wow, they finally got the guy that did this. They've been looking forever. They must really know who did it. And maybe they do have the right guy. Maybe they do. But then we hear all of this other stuff. Possible third-party culprits, alternate suspects. The investigators aren't doing follow-up interviews. There are witnesses that they didn't even find. For me, it just doesn't give me much confidence, and I think we have a lot more to see. So you guys think we have what the F? Too much doubt already, right? It's like a lot. We've got a hot mess. Can't get any more. 13th KNW juror wants to go to midnight. Also, thank you here for being a member for 18 months. So glad to see everybody. Please hit that like button. Please do. Love this new name, by the way, 13th KNW juror, the chief judge of the chat. And Kristen, thank you again for gifting the 5. But yeah, so there's a lot. Posh says, feels like a shell game. Autry says, it's just utter BS. They shouldn't even attempt to retry him. They are. They're going to try to do it this September, and they were trying to start Monday. Monday was initially the date for the retrial. So, Mavka says, very Wolfenbarger. Another very interesting cold case trial. Fulton County, Georgia. Simone Hilton was one of the prosecutors. And Waffle Houses, family members were... Well, the dad was a killer. It's unsure about the mom, but the mom helped the dad, you know, and got a plea, got some leniency from law enforcement, and the father wanted to make sure his wife would be good, so they're all good. Wolfenbarger was a very interesting cold case. The Good Glow says another Edric Foss. Yeah, how do you go back in time and come up with an alibi? And it seems like the defense has some phone information that, sure, they're pinging on the same cell phone tower. And the state says that means he must have been lying when he said he wasn't near the scene of the crime. But at the same time, if this is a college town and he used to be dorm mates, like not dorm mates, but live in the same dorm, like the same hallway, same building as some of this friends group. So is it that weird that he'd be living in an area where he'd ping to the same cell phone without it meaning he's actually face to face with somebody at the time the crime occurs? But, you know, people hear that, oh, he's in the same place. Or, oh, he said that he wasn't in the same place, but he was. And you get the context behind it. It changes the story. But when you just hear that in a bubble, it can be really compelling. How do you change someone's mind when they already think that they only arrested you because they investigated for 20 years and they must seriously have the right person? And they find out that they have you because of your cell phone location information, which isn't that precise. But we just hear that they have it and we think that it's precise. How do you overcome that in the public opinion? And I'm starting to see how the jury, we had 5 jurors that didn't think the state proved their case. I only watched part of the trial when it was happening, but of course we're going to watch it. All of the available footage that's online, whatever we have, we're going to watch that together. And I'll see if by the end I agree with those 5 jurors or the 1 juror who was a holdout for guilty. So Autry says, tax money? God's Devil Dog's rooting for a midnight stream. It might happen if I have enough caffeine. Yeah, another thing. Created by EJF says, I still can't get over that some criminal cases in Florida only have 6 jurors. So Mel's like, well, Pata seems like the instigator here. Kristen says she watched the trial, so that's awesome. That'd be cool if you think anything, if you've already done a deep dive on some of the motions, then you would already know. But if we cover anything that you haven't seen yet and like something's new to you or sticks out or changes your mind, please let us know. That'd be very cool to see. Pistachia, good to see you. Says, thanks for going live with this. I've been listening but haven't been active in the chat. Well, we miss you. Hope you're enjoying this. Thank you. Thank you for being glad that we're doing this. I'm glad too. It's been very interesting, this information. AK says, look at the officer guy. Look at Mr. Dave Howell. Whew. Yeah, and allegedly maybe says geofencing isn't as precise as it seems. Yeah, and I don't think that this is necessarily geofencing. It seems like they have like one cell tower. But we'll have to see how that's exactly presented. Yeah, Freedom Ring says nearly all have only 6. Whew. The Good Glow says, I watched the trial and promise no spoilers. We're going to watch it tomorrow, so you don't have to hold it in that long. Maybe at midnight, which would technically be tomorrow. But soon, within the next 48 hours, because again, they have a hearing on Monday, and I don't know how this judge, if she's going to allow, it doesn't seem like she's allowing live streaming, but maybe she'll allow the hearing to come out in clips like some of these other clips. So I don't know when we'll be able to watch or find out what happens at Monday's hearing, but I want to be prepared for whenever we can find out that we can be somewhat caught up. So we're going to do a cram session tomorrow. Mavka's predicting Dave and Willie did it. Yeah. Willie is a interesting name to hear that roommates with Eric. Like, and I don't know, is there something going on in this dorm room? We heard DVDs, which is kind of like, if it's your dorm room, maybe you want to come up with an object, but was there like weed or something in this dorm room? And everybody was going and getting the weed? Because we heard that Rashaun Jones was suspended, like he failed a drug test, right? So like, maybe a lot of this back and forth in the rooms was over weed. And clip-ups talking about smoking something. And these guys just don't want to admit that they had weed in the dorms. Or that they were getting weed off these Haitians. I don't know. Is that like a theory that's completely, I'm like in left field with it? Like, I don't know. Just because a college athlete isn't supposed to smoke weed doesn't mean that they don't. I don't know. I just think that there's a lot here. There's a lot here. But I do think that these little incidents happened. I just think that we're sprinkling in details that don't seem to make sense. And I have doubts about the specific details. That's where I'm at personally. So loving seeing you guys like react in real time to this. Very awesome. God's Double Dogs. Yeah, if you've ever been to college, I mean, lots of weed, generally speaking. So let's wrap this one up here. I'll be back in just under an hour. We'll do 6. That's like 50 minutes from now. And we will go through some motions. We'll go through the docket. And maybe if I'm hyped, have some good energy, we can roll into some trial watch tonight. So the trial watch was trimmed down because not all of the footage is available, but it looks like critical witnesses, openings, closings, all of that is included. We just might not see some of the outside the jury presence stuff, unfortunately, because that's like my favorite stuff. But hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for being here if you're watching live. Thanks so much if you're on replay. And see you guys in a little bit here. Bye, guys.